commentary for the Hungarian Grand Prix comes from Anthony Davidson and David Croft.
And with just 1 point between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas less than 1 win away, let's start part 2 of the Formula One season in 2017. We've made the trek from Silverstone to Budapest, some 1,157 miles for the 32nd World Championship Hungarian Grand Prix at a track where the pole sitter has only won 13 times in the previous 31 races, which is quite surprising on a very tight, twisty circuit where overtaking is difficult, but where DRS in the last few years has at least given the drivers a little bit of assistance. Plenty of elevation changes, 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right, and those 2 DRS zones on the run down into turn 2 and on the run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 1. It is a beautiful scene today, a few white clouds in the sky. For Sebastian Vettel and for Ferrari, it's a pole position and the Scuderia's first here since 2005, but can they hang on to that pole position? Anthony Davidson, can Mercedes salvage something?
Those are the laps to the grid. I mean, the car does turn in. The rear tyres are going to die. I'm willing to bet they don't last a one stop.
Going into the unknown, these guys, Crofty. Conditions very different today than it was back in FP1 and FP2 when they did the long runs. So, yeah, really going to be an exciting race. Let's see what happens.
And Lewis Hamilton already sounding race this afternoon. So for Sebastian Vettel, a third pole at the Hungaroring, and Kimi Raikkonen's alongside him on the front row. Ferrari's first lockout here since 2005. Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas making it all Mercedes' second row, and it's like Noah's Ark, 2 by 2 by 2, with Red Bull occupying row 3. It's all McLaren on row 4. Once again, Fernando Alonso and Stoffel Van Dorn putting them in the top 10 as they were last year. Carlos Sainz for Toro Rosso starts 9th, and Jolyon Palmer is promoted to his second top 10 start in his career by his teammate's grid penalty. 5 places for Nico Hülkenberg for changing his gearbox. Esteban Ocon starts 11th, his Force India teammate Sergio Perez is 13th, and Romain Grosjean starts 14th for Haas, ahead of his teammate Kevin Magnussen. Haas with the car out in Q1 for the 8th time this year. Danny Kvyat's penalty came after impeding Lance Stroll, who starts behind him in qualifying. Pascal Wehrlein out-qualifies his teammate for the 7th time this season. And Paul di Resta starts his first race since Brazil 2013 from 19th, with Marcus Ericsson bringing up the rear. Valtteri Bottas, the last time he started 3rd and Sebastian Vettel was on pole, Bottas went out and won the race, and that day Kimi Raikkonen was the man between them as well. Mercedes will be hoping that Bottas can make the jump and at least put Raikkonen under pressure from the start, where there is chance, Anthony, for some overtaking to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's difficult to overtake here, like you heard in the track guide, but it is possible. And still, it means that the start is very, very important. This guy looking at it on the screen, he knows he has to get a good getaway, has to consolidate that incredible lap. He did 2 laps, he did, in qualifying, good enough for pole position. And can he make a good getaway? Basically, though, the top 6 cars in qualifying separated by just over half a second. I think we're in for a good one.
And what's great, behind Sebastian Vettel, some excellent starters as well. The likes of Max Verstappen, only when he's been taken out by other cars at the start of this season has he not made up places from the lights out.
And the thing is, you know, they know they've got the car that for the race, not qualifying. So where can Red Bull be today? They were so strong in FP2 in the long runs when we saw them there. And, yeah, not quite there in qualifying. They can't turn their engines up, don't forget, like the other 2 teams, Ferrari and Mercedes. So in the race, if he can be aggressive at the start, like he always is.
All the indications from talking to the teams this morning were that because of the hot ambient temperature, because of the hot track temperature, they're not quite sure if this is a 1 or a 2-stop race. What's interesting is that everyone bar Danny Kvyat and Paul di Resta are starting on the super soft tyre. Now, Paul kind of alluded to this last night when we were talking to him, that it keeps your options open if you start on the soft compound tyre. But is the inference that with 18 on the super soft, the majority think actually it's more likely to be a 2-stop race, this one?
Well, Lewis Hamilton already talking about, just after the installation lap, of his rear tyres going away, or at least suspecting that the rear tyre is going to go away. Like I said before, they're going into the unknown here in terms of tyre degradation.
And running along this track behind other people as well, cooling is going to be a major issue for the cars.
And marbles as well. Marbles can be a big issue. When you pick those up in your tyres, it causes more friction. You slide around more and waiting for them to disperse out of the way, and that can all increase your tyre wear.
Overtaking opportunities into turn 1 where they're already bunching up, and down into turn 2 as well, where you can make a move around the outside. There's the Drivers' Championship. Sergio Perez just dropping out of the top 6 after Silverstone. Max Verstappen back up into the top 6 again. His teammate Daniel Ricciardo, who we're on board with now, in 4th place, and the points all the way down to Fernando Alonso in 2nd. Just a word for Paul di Resta here. If he scores points today, well, he might even get around in tonight and buy the champagne himself. Getting off the line for the first time ever in one of these hybrid cars is not going to be the easiest thing for him either.
I mean, the start, I think, in all honesty, Crofty, isn't really the hardest thing he's going to do today. It's going to be a long, hot race. And, yeah, I mean, again, if you know, he's got to keep those tyres under condition. He's never really driven these cars with the Pirelli tyres and them moving around like they will do today. They're so snappy to drive these cars, and wow, it's such a tall order. And I think the start is just one of the many things coming his way.
The one thing I would say about Paul, remembering back to his racing career, looking after his tyres and turning a 2-stop into a 1-stop was very much the mark of his career.
Yeah, I mean, he can do it. And look, he's a pro. He knows what he's doing. Like yesterday, you know, he took the car around the track, he kept it within the lines, and yeah, I'm sure he's going to do a respectable job.
Sergio Marchionne, the El Presidente of Ferrari here, having meetings with Toto Wolff in the paddock this morning. Not quite sure what that was about.
From no pressure for these guys then. No. First and second on the grid. Don't mess it up, boys.
Our colleagues at Sky Italia saying it every time the president comes, Ferrari have a bad day. We're not quite sure if we want him here or not, to be honest. But Sebastian Vettel, how much of a morale-boosting performance will it be if he can take victory today, or at least extend his championship lead with a summer break coming up? After this, Formula One shuts down for a couple of weeks and everyone gets a well-earned rest before we complete the season in Abu Dhabi, of course, in November. So, Sebastian Vettel lining up on pole, and he's won 9 of his last 10 races from pole. This is what it looks like from P19. It's a long way back. It's barely out of the final corner.
Fernando Alonso really getting aggressive in the tyre warming, throwing that McLaren from left to right, trying to get as much temperature in those rear tyres as possible. But yep, di Resta lining up on the grid there.
And finally, the Sauber of Marcus Ericsson slots into place, and we have all 20 cars on the grid. It is round 11 of the Formula One World Championship. 5 lights on ahead of the drivers. And it's lights out, and away we go. Kimi gets away very well, but Sebastian Vettel moves across to cut him off. And then Valtteri Bottas just behind Kimi Raikkonen, and on the inside, Daniel Ricciardo. And Lewis Hamilton now having a look down the inside, looking up just a little bit as the 2 Ferraris lead them into turn 1. Sebastian Vettel ahead of his teammate going wide. One of the Hasses into turn 1. It's Sebastian Vettel from Kimi Raikkonen. Then comes Valtteri Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton's losing places as they touch the 2 Red Bulls of Ricciardo, going wide into turn 2. And there's Carlos Sainz sliding through, and there's big problems for Ricciardo, who spins round on turn 3.
Yeah, the left rear puncture there, Crofty, in turn 2, and that's why he couldn't control the car in turn 3, collided into another car. The 2 Red Bulls coming into contact in turn 2. Verstappen, I think, just overcooking it on the brakes slightly, and Ricciardo had nowhere to go.
We saw at Silverstone 2 Toro Rossos collide. It's the senior team at Red Bull on lap 1 in Hungary that are having their problems, but no problems so far for Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton is down in 5th place, Raikkonen 2nd, Bottas, and there is Ricciardo out of this race.
Burst the radiator.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if there isn't a safety car now whilst they clear that Red Bull away.
Yeah, it looks like he's burst the radiator as well. That car's going nowhere.
The safety car is deployed. That's going to take some cleaning up. Look at the tyre marks on the track there as Ricciardo slewed around. I mentioned Carlos Sainz. Epic start.
Someone hit me.
Yeah, understood. We're looking at it.
Yeah.
Is that who I think it was? Yes.
Yeah, understood, mate. We can see.
You could be right there, Danny boy. It was your teammate, Max Verstappen. There's a debrief that you want ringside tickets for later on this afternoon.
Well, it was the Ferrari boss that turned up and we said they can't make any mistakes. They got away cleanly, but yeah, we said that the two Red Bulls had to be feisty at the start, and that really was feisty from Max Verstappen. I like another look at that.
Well, it paid off for Verstappen because he's promoted himself up into 4th place. Sainz,
well, you never know what happens to the right front of that car.
Sainz has gone from 9th up into 6th. Stoffel van Dorn's lost a place. Sergio Perez has gone from 13th up into 8th place. Excellent start for him and his teammate Esteban Ocon, who's made up a place as well.
Bits of carbon fibre getting flung all across the track. So this is the start.
Well, Raikkonen gets away well. I think he reacted a bit quicker, and then Vettel comes to cut him off. And then the two Mercedes start duelling. And on the inside, Ricciardo's having a go as well.
Ricciardo looks down the inside of Hamilton, but Hamilton blocks him off. And Verstappen gets pushed wide just a bit on the exit there by the Mercedes off the track, and that allows Ricciardo to get the run down towards turn 2 on the outside. He knows that Verstappen's there at this point, and let's see how much space he gives him. Quite a lot. The lockup comes. I would say Ricciardo was the innocent party there.
Yeah.
I mean, not intentional, of course, from Verstappen.
Could Verstappen have done anything to
avoid that? It was a lockup,
that?
And you know what? He probably got some marbles or dirt on that left tyre that locked up in towards turn 2. Giving him some get out, but there we go. Ricciardo spinning around, and it's so dangerous when you got a car sideways, the car's coming at you. This is what it looked like from Lewis Hamilton on board. Behind the Ferraris, a real even getaway between the top 4 cars, and you got Verstappen looking around the outside. Hamilton goes towards the inside, thinks better of it. Everybody locking up, and Hamilton getting close as well behind his teammate. And that was Bottas that, squeezed the Red Bull, which allowed Ricciardo to do this around the outside. Here comes a lock-up from Verstappen. Understeers into his teammate, the sin of all sins, and pretty clear to me.
Well, let's have a look at it then from Max Verstappen's cockpit.
A great getaway.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Anne, everyone getting away well. Verstappen, he's the guy that makes up places on lap 1.
On the outside, you're on the racing line, don't forget. That allows you to brake very hard. He gets caught out by the Ferrari. He has to brake earlier than what he thought he had to, and that's what put him on the back foot around the outside. Now we head towards turn 2, and he did have enough room. He did. The lockup came, and he'll be feeling pretty bad about that one. It wasn't intentional,
but a little more steering angle needed.
It just locked up. And yeah, I mean, you can say you shouldn't be doing that, but I think him going out wide and off the track here on the exit of turn 1 made him pick up some marbles from previous races. Look, he's on the AstroTurf there, so the left side of his tyre's now dirty, and that's probably what didn't help. And yeah, nothing that Ricciardo could have done there apart from drive into Budapest Centre.
And stop eventually.
He tries to hang on to the car the best he can.
He was lucky he didn't get collected by anyone else moving around behind him. The stewards looking at that Ricciardo investigation. We're on board now with Jolyon Palmer around the outside at turn 2. He gets a bird's eye view and a lot of carbon fibre in his visor.
Right, what's going to happen as we head towards turn 3? The Red Bull clearly in trouble. Oh, and that was some quick reactions from Jolyon Palmer. That could have been a race ender as well for him.
Well, he actually got away, unlike at Silverstone 2 weeks ago, and that, as you say, could have very nearly ended his race at round about the same time as this man's here. Disappointment for Daniel Ricciardo on the podium here for the last 3 years, but not today. First retiree from the Hungarian Grand Prix. We're still behind the safety car. Paul di Resta, as you might have seen, let everyone get away ahead of him and still picked up a place on Marcus Ericsson on that opening lap before the safety car. There's oil and there's a lot of mucky stuff down on the track, which is why they're putting the cement dust down. And this is going to take a couple more laps, I would have thought, at least, to get that sorted. So for the first time ever, we've got a safety car on lap 1 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. For the first time ever, Daniel Ricciardo's out on the first lap of a Grand Prix. And for the first time in 3 years, the man on pole has actually led the first lap of the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Let's have a look at this again, because so Vettel locks up. That causes Kimi to momentarily sort of back out of it. We're looking at the fight further
Grosjean.
down.
I said there was a Haas had gone wide, and look, Hülkenberg came together with Grosjean.
Okay, I've been massively hit, but I don't know who, so I don't know if the car's got any damage.
Yeah, it's
the guys are stupid, yeah.
Yeah, understood. Okay, we're watching the data now.
And Ericsson just pushed me off. What an intelligent guy.
I tell you what, the two Force Indias came together as well.
No love lost there, is there?
No, Ocon eventually having to make way, and Perez was not going to be moved out of the way. But how do you see the Hülkenberg-Grosjean incident?
I think everybody, Crofty, was struggling to get around turn one, and I was just talking about Vettel, how he locked up and caused Kimi Räikkönen to sort of move around and unaware of where that Ferrari in front of him was going to go. And I think that basically caused a chain reaction, like it always does here in turn one. And Hülkenberg losing control as well, slightly. And Grosjean, it's a daring thing to go around the outside. We saw Verstappen get pushed off the track as well. It's a risky thing to do. He's giving that some, isn't he?
Well, when Lewis Hamilton and the like say, can we not go a bit faster behind the safety car? And it looks like it's effortless in an F1 car, because it is. I think there's a classic example there of just how much work is going on at the cockpit, at the wheel. Bernd Mailander, the safety car driver, to keep at the speed that the drivers want. I mean, he's absolutely thrashing that thing.
It really shows, doesn't it, the speed of Formula 1. I mean, these guys were in first and second gear following him. And you feel like when you're in an F1 car, you can just sort of step out of the thing and walk alongside it when you go to those. They're so built to do top speed, and they feel comfortable at top speed, unlike a road car. And, Bernd Mailander, like you say, really chucking that Mercedes around.
Now, the stewards have said, we've noted the incident between Grosjean and Hülkenberg, just to shut up any radio chatter on the team radio. Expect that to be an investigation in a few moments. Ted, down to you.
So a few relieved strategists on the pit wall down here in the pit lane, Crofty, because this makes the one stop a little easier. If we can just push out the stint on the super soft to around lap 33, then a single set of soft tyres will get you through to the end of the race quite happily. But even on a hot day like this, I'll just update you on the two people that have pitted. It's for tactical reasons, it's just to get their tyre change out of the way, and it's the two Saubers of Ericsson and Wehrlein. They started on the red stripe super soft, and they've both put the soft on, and we'll see whether they just make probably one more stop.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do what Hülkenberg did to Riemann, then it's going to be a dirty race.
Well, the two Red Bull guys, was it Max Verstappen who said, we're not going to go, actually it was Daniel Ricciardo, we're not going to go out and make any friends today. Well, is it going to be a dirty race? At a track where overtaking is difficult, you kind of need to get your elbows out a bit, and don't you? As Kevin Magnussen's now alluding that, well, maybe I should do that as well. Safety car's coming in at the end of this lap. Yeah,
I mean, like we said before, the start is important. Getting off the line is important. Turn one's important. So, that's why you see drivers getting a bit desperate.
6 out of 10 races, now 6 out of 11 races this season, we've had retirements on lap 1. I just wonder, with the drivers going into this season thinking that overtaking is going to be more difficult, are we seeing more aggressive wheel-to-wheel racing, especially at the start of a race? As we make our way now to the restart of this race, Sebastian Vettel, better hope those super soft tyres are nicely warmed up, and he's still trying to get some heat into them. 55 degrees track temperature, but it doesn't mean that the tyres are warmed up nicely, and Seb is going to lead them away then as the safety car comes in at the end of this lap. Kimi Räikkönen is right there with him. Valtteri Bottas is right there with him. As now, out of the penultimate corner with Max Verstappen all over the rear wing of Valtteri Bottas. He winds it up and he puts his foot down, and we can get racing again. And there is Lewis Hamilton trying to get past Max Verstappen, and Hamilton's going to get a decent tow down the main straight. It's Vettel from Räikkönen back in the midfield. There goes Fernando Alonso on Carlos Sainz. Here comes Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. They're weaving all over the track. Hamilton goes around the outside. Alonso goes around the outside. Bottas from Verstappen and Hamilton, and Alonso and Sainz really going for it through turn 1. Sainz is still ahead, and Alonso has lost out to Sergio Perez as well. Verstappen has got Hamilton all over his tail. Can he slip down the inside? And Verstappen blocks him off as Vettel leads Räikkönen, leads Bottas, leads Verstappen, and now Hamilton.
Some canny over defending from Max Verstappen there. Lewis Hamilton couldn't overtake the Red Bull. He had him covered in turn 1. Lewis thought about going to the inside first of all into turn 2, and then thought better of it to go around the outside, and Verstappen only just gave him enough space on the track before turning in. Yeah, super aggressive like we thought he would be, and it continues for the Red Bull driver.
I'm watching in the rear of the Verstappen and Hamilton battle as Ricciardo says, what happened? Tell me, somebody, why that was acceptable. Helmut Marko is going to have to deal with both drivers a little later on.
It's like going up to the head teacher at school, isn't it? Sir, he did this to me. What are you going to do about it?
But watching Sainz and Alonso and Perez as well. Alonso's got back ahead of Perez. There was a fair old ding-dong going on between those three cars. Isn't it great to see Fernando Alonso on a track that suits his car better, being able to do that sort of thing as well? 36 years of age and 1 day now, the old man, of Formula 1.
Steady, Crofty. I'm only 2 years older than him. Right, so yeah, I mean, it was such a shame for Fernando. He's probably willing that Honda on down the straight, thinking, come on, if he just had a bit more power, I'm sure he would have made the move stick.
Julian Palmer's got his teammate Nico Hülkenberg now right behind him. The two Renaults battling away, and Paul di Resta is up in the 17th place because the two Saubers have stopped. Strategic stop that, and I think they're going to try and go to the end on a set of soft compound tyres. That was their strategy for this race, and yeah, there's a Daniel Ricciardo fan surrounded by Sebastian Vettel fans who's rather wishing that she'd sat somewhere else or bought a different flag.
I think Daniel Ricciardo will be thinking the same thing as most fans when he watches that one back. Hamilton's radio.
Oh, hang on.
It's dangerous, wasn't worth the risk.
Okay, copy, Lewis. Yeah, we see what you're doing. Happy with that.
A 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen for causing a collision. The stewards have decided it is all his fault, and when he comes in for a pit stop, he will have to wait for 10 seconds before they can do any work on his car, and that can really wreck his race today.
I think we can all agree that it wasn't malicious, it was just extremely feisty, and the lockup came. It was quite unfortunate, but, you know, at the end of the day, at this level, Crofty, you shouldn't really be making mistakes like that. This is Formula One, best drivers in the world, and you should know when you've been pushed off the circuit that you're going to have the chance to lock up the inside front and down into turn 2, and you always have to play it more safe when you're around your teammate. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton, why his head there on his shoulders, because he decided, like he said on his radio, and look at this, under investigation.
Yeah, Grosjean and Hülkenberg to be expected, that one. We're on board with Nico Hülkenberg at the moment. Oh, look, there's his teammate Julian Palmer, a little bit unsteady and squirming around going through turn 2. Let's go down to the Williams pit wall. Paddy Lowe, what an eventful first lap that was. Took us through it from the Williams perspective.
Good afternoon. Yeah, well, obviously difficult for Paul. He's just starting out here, but gradually finding his feet, I guess. We're ahead of the Saubers, which is very good news for us. And with Lance, we're trying to attack Kvyat, who's on the soft tyre. Could hold us up.
With Paul, Paddy, was it just a case of telling him to hang back, let everyone else get away, and then start to run your race and don't get involved in any bother?
No, we actually tried to get him to do the best start he could, but, you know, he's got very little experience of doing the race start.
Absolutely. And what about for the rest of this race? What are your hopes for this afternoon? Do you think you can get into the points in any way?
It's going to be tricky, but that is our ambition. We didn't make as much progress as we'd like, and it's looking very difficult to overtake for anyone at the moment. But, you know, we won't give up. There will be lots of incidents in this race, so we'll try and take advantage.
You're expecting it to get a bit dirty out there, like Kevin Magnussen said, Paddy?
Sorry, I missed that.
I said, are you expecting it to get a bit dirty out there? Drivers taking a few more risks than they normally would?
Yeah, that and the fact that it's actually a very tough race on the cars and also on the drivers for fitness. So I think as it wears on, it'll be a long race because it's relatively slow. So we start to see the results of that as we get towards the end. People are tired, cars give up, and this normally causes a lot of incident.
Paddy, thanks ever so much. We'll be back with you a little later on. I'm just hearing, as we were talking to Paddy there, a radio message. Daniel Ricciardo getting very vocal indeed about his teammate. He's got another 61 laps to calm down a little bit before he gets anywhere near Verstappen. I don't think that's enough.
Look, it wasn't a Perez-Ocon situation. You know, it wasn't intentional at all, like I've already said. And I think Verstappen will feel, you know, he'll feel pretty bad about that one. He didn't mean to do it, basically. So, and now he's cost himself 10 seconds in this race. As a penalty, that's going to really hurt him. You know, they had the car here today, Red Bull, to get onto the podium on merit, and now that's not going to happen. Yeah, well, probably won't happen under normal circumstances.
What wise words there, Ant, but that's about as comforting to Daniel Ricciardo as a Hessian blanket with bed bugs, quite frankly.
Sure. But, you know, that is racing, and that is the Hungaroring. You know, we knew it was going to be a gloves-off kind of race today, and particularly for the Red Bull team. You know, they suffered in qualifying. They were a little bit on the back foot there with not being able to turn their engine up like the other two teams can, and you know, you can see them now. Look, he's running the same pace as the guys in front.
Okay, Lewis, radio check. We're having IT issues in the garage.
Someone needs to hit Control-Alt-Delete down at Mercedes, and Fernando Alonso is being noted by the stewards for an incident at the safety car restart. I wonder if he was attacking Sainz a little bit before he should have done. Ted, Sebastian Vettel leads by 2.7 seconds now at the end of lap 9. Down to you.
Alonso's on the radio feed complaining about general driving standards around him as well, so he's got his own beef. The beef that Ricardo's talking about, the radio message, Crofty, where Ricardo, we believe, well, he said that he's a sore loser.
Yeah.
And we believe he's talking about Verstappen, and that Ricardo had actually passed Verstappen on track, and Verstappen was so desperate to get the place back, perhaps he felt that he overcooked it. So, yeah, that will be interesting going into the summer break. Lots of things to think about there, but it's very tight for the last points-paying position at the moment. There's Ocon, Palmer and Hülkenberg, all separated by a second and a half.
And out in front, the two Ferraris absolutely flying here. Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen. Valtteri Bottas was a second slower than Sebastian Vettel on the last lap. Lewis Hamilton 1.4 seconds. He said the tyres, the rears are going to start to go away. Maybe that is what is happening. But also, don't forget the cooling issues here. It is a very hot day in this part of Budapest, not just on the tarmac, but through the air as well. And for these cars, Anthony, to be on this track, tight, twisty, not long straights, you know, cooling is going to be an issue for them. They're not going to get much reprise.
Yeah, not just for the car, but for the tyres as well. You can see on that shot from Lewis Hamilton, not quite sure if that was blistering or pickup. I should imagine it's a bit of pickup there on the right rear. But yeah, they certainly get pushed through their paces. I don't know if Ted's heard anything from the pit radio down at Mercedes. They're having IT issues. Maybe they've lost telemetry on the car, perhaps. That would be a bad thing. We certainly haven't heard the response from Lewis confirming that he can hear the team. And that could make his job even harder this afternoon in these hot conditions.
So there's DRS available there for Jolyon Palmer. You can see it behind Esteban Ocon in the Force India, and his teammate Nico Hülkenberg has got DRS assistance as well.
And even though it doesn't look like it at this stage, Crofty, I would say that Hülkenberg's getting held up.
Okay, loose radio check. The system should be working now.
Loud and clear. Good to have you back.
They've been away for a while. Yeah, you can tell that Hülkenberg's getting held up a little bit.
And the reason for that is because obviously, you know, like we were just talking about, cooling is an issue around this track. You know, there's quite slow speed corners, a slow average lap, and you need the airflow going through the radiators to keep the car cool. They run them on the limit because of the fact it gives you more aerodynamic performance to keep the car as closed as possible. And by that, the drivers have to hang back from the car in front. So even though they're not right nose to tail, you can kind of suspect in a way that they are able to go a bit faster.
So maybe in about 4 or 5 laps time, if we start to see Verstappen or Hamilton or Bottas putting in some pacier laps, closing up to the car in front, can we suspect from that we've got a bit of an undercut situation developing? Because at the moment they're starting to get a bit too far back for that. As I say that, no further action reported by the stewards on Grosjean and Hülkenberg racing incident.
I think that's a fair call. I forgot to mention at the time. I think we ran out of time with what was going on, but I was going to say that it was I would have seen it as a racing incident at the start. It's one of those typical things that happens at the start. And he was in a crowded situation, was Hülkenberg. And yeah, it's just one of those things. You know, you're brave to go around the outside.
I think I'm going to take a little breather from that group.
Understood, Nico, understood.
Yeah, he knows, like we were just talking about, he knows he's quicker. The team obviously haven't reacted to that in swapping the cars, but yeah, I could see that he had the speed, but just couldn't close the gap because of cooling issues and maybe extra tyre wear as well. These two Ferraris, Crofty, they've checked out.
3.3 seconds at the end of lap 12, the gap between Vettel and Raikkonen. And we've got a problem in sector 1. Double yellow flags being waved temporarily by the marshals, but cleared up very quickly indeed. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, that group, the Perez, Van Dorn, Ocon, Palmer, Hülkenberg group that we were talking about earlier, it's getting pretty busy. I was just going to say about Ferrari's pace. Sebastian Vettel, absolutely beautiful pace. Now 5 seconds on Valtteri Bottas in third, so that will come very useful no matter what kind of strategy Mercedes try and throw at them. And talking of strategy, Anthony, I'm just thinking about Max Verstappen and what he does. Surely any hopes of a two-stop have to go out the window. Now he's going to be sat in the pit box for 10 seconds before they can work on his car.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
surely.
you have thought?
Yeah, surely you'd think, you know, he has to. They have to think about the one-stop possibility now. We just had a quick look at the Ferrari in slow-mo compared to the Mercedes. If you remember, we talked about the pickup or possible graining / stroke blistering on the rear right, and the Ferrari's tyre looked in much better condition.
And the lap times rather showing that as well. A 1:22.7 for Sebastian Vettel on the last lap. Bottas a 1:23.0, same as his teammate, and Kimi Raikkonen had a 1:22.9 in between them. Verstappen with a 10-second time penalty when he comes in for his pit stop. The stewards are now looking at the safety car restart incident involving Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz, and we've got 19 running in this Hungarian Grand Prix because we lost Daniel Ricciardo when Verstappen crashed into him. He's in the pen, he's talking to Natalie now.
Well, Daniel, it's clear in everyone's minds whose fault it was. Max has been given a 10-second penalty because of it, but just describe it to us from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to describe or say. Was what it was. I saw I was on, you know, I had a good run out of one. Obviously, there was a bit going on, so I saw Valtteri on the inside, so I could brake a bit later on the outside, so I thought I'll just go here and kind of protect that place, and then I felt a hit. So for sure, it's not on. That was amateur to say the least. So just frustrating. You know, that it's not like he was trying to pass. There was no room. Valtteri was in front. I was on the outside, so there's no room. But I don't think he likes, obviously, when a teammate gets in front of him. So, you know, you got the whole race to try and repair a mistake, but the pass was never on. It wasn't even a pass. It wasn't an attempt. It was just a very poor mistake.
What will you say to him, and what will you expect the team to say to him?
I mean, obviously the team will do their bit, and I'll do my bit, but there shouldn't be too much, but for sure we'll sort it out.
Do you think it's just a case of him being overly aggressive because he knows there are not many opportunities to overtake here, and he's just a bit pent up before a race like this, just trying too hard maybe?
I honestly don't even think it's trying too hard. I don't think there's kind of an excuse for it. I just think, you know, it's like, obviously he tried the outside of turn one, didn't work. You know, he got the line taken away from him on the exit, so all of a sudden what looks like a good start is in a bad start, and then he sees me go past, and it's like, I got to fix this, and oops, I've crashed. So that's just the way it was.
Daniel Ricciardo trying to call for a bit of patience from his teammate there, and very much putting the blame in Max Verstappen's court. The stewards have agreed with that as well. I'll get your thoughts on that in 2 seconds, Anthony. We're now starting to see Lewis Hamilton make a bit of a move on Max Verstappen on this lap. Sebastian Vettel still leads. We're on lap 16. Not bad for a man who's led every single lap of this race. He'd only led 3 laps in the last 4 races combined, and he's got a very healthy 3-second gap over his teammate Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah, and Kimi Raikkonen's tagging on to the back of Sebastian Vettel. He's not really letting him get away that much, and he's allowing himself to run in clear air as well, which obviously Vettel has the luxury of. It's the best position to be in. So Kimi doing a great job at the moment, keeping Vettel honest.
Tyres feel fine. I don't have a big enough delta to close the gap and get past him now.
Yeah, that's no problem there, Lewis. Hopefully that should be taken care of.
He's just reduced the gap by a slender margin of 1/10 of a second to Max Verstappen on the last lap.
Yeah, he's going to have to sit patiently for a while, isn't he, until the pit stops come and Verstappen is cleared from his penalty. Going back to that one, Ricciardo clearly, fuming at the situation down there at Red Bull, and you'd say rightly so. Taken out the race by your teammate, never a good thing. But he said that first of all, he indicated that Verstappen was the one doing the overtake. It wasn't. It was actually Ricciardo doing the overtake around the outside, and so therefore, you know, Max was entitled to be there, in my opinion. And yeah, but he was right in saying that it was just a bit amateurish. You shouldn't expect a driver to make that kind of mistake, but he certainly was entitled to be there.
And as for Alonso and Sainz, quite clearly, as we were hearing from Daniel Ricciardo, we saw a replay. They touched quite a big impact tyre to tyre between Sainz and Alonso. Was Alonso driven off the road a little bit?
I would say that one, yeah. In contrast to the two Red Bulls coming together, that one for me, the Alonso and Sainz, that looked a little bit more malicious, you know, from Sainz. And there was really nothing that Fernando could do. Yeah, I mean, he was...
Oh, no further action. As you're talking, no further action by the stewards. Racing incident again.
Yeah, I mean, he knew Alonso was there. Of course you know they're there, but it's a risky thing to do, to put your car in that position if you're Alonso. And I wasn't surprised to see the two cars come into contact, but rest assured, Sainz knew exactly what he was doing in that situation.
So no further action from the stewards on that. We heard...
The tire's okay, but I feel like I'm driving on oil everywhere. It's no grip.
I think it's a general comment from everybody. Your pace is good.
And that, a very wise reply there from Giuliano Salvi. Just chill out a little bit. Don't worry. You're not alone in your troubles.
Now, this is getting a bit more interesting, Crofty. We mentioned Ferrari's just pulling away into the distance, running consistently in the 22s. The Mercedes, the sole Red Bull of Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton running around in 23s. They're all now in the 22s, and the Mercedes able to match the speed of the Ferrari.
Trouble is, Ted Kravitz, they've got quite a few seconds between them and a few metres on the track as well.
Well, that's true, but also Sebastian Vettel's lead over Kimi Raikkonen has come down a bit from 3.5 seconds to just under 3 seconds, 2.9. So Kimi keeping good pace. I got a little update from Williams where Lance Stroll's strategy is still being ruined by Danny Kvyat. In fact, I shouldn't really say that. I think Toro Rosso is just a faster car today, but Kvyat's on the slower soft tyres. Stroll supposedly on the faster tyres, can't get past him. And Paul di Resta is the subject of an attack trying to be planned by Sauber's. Marcus Ericsson wants to be let past Pascal Wehrlein to try and have a go at di Resta because he thinks he can pass the second Williams. But Sauber not playing ball. The order remains di Resta, Wehrlein, Ericsson.
How often do we hear Marcus Ericsson wanting to get past Pascal Wehrlein? And look, there goes Nico Hülkenberg down the inside on his teammate Jolyon Palmer. And unless Jolyon Palmer thought it was a good idea to brake around about 30 metres before he needed to, that rather looked like an instruction to me.
Kind of get the impression of being just mildly sarcastic there, Crofty.
Just a touch.
Yeah, it looked like a pass to me rather than a proper overtake.
Really? Yes.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I think the team, like we picked up many laps ago, that Hülkenberg was faster.
Joe's been asked to let you pass, Nico. Joe is slower than you.
And there we go. I mean, yeah, Hülkenberg shouldn't have been there really in the first place with that penalty, losing 5 places on the grid. So, you know, he did a great job in qualifying. But unfortunately, yeah, you know, you win and lose as a team together, driver and team combo. You suffer the same penalty, of course. So, yeah, you should say he would have been ahead in the first place.
He's got the new front wing on, Nico Hülkenberg, for this race. Jolyon Palmer, because of what happened in practice on Friday, whenever the curb and the new wing disintegrated, has got the old front wing on as well. So once again, not exactly like for like in cars that should be. Come Spa, they have exactly the same parts and upgraded parts at the same time. Either way, Hülkenberg can now chase after Ocon. Ocon has dropped back a little bit from Stoffel Van Dorn. Sergio Perez has a nice gap on Van Dorn. And there really aren't many close gaps, it has to be said, out on that track at the moment. Nobody has got under a second, so we're kind of waiting now for the pit stops and how this race might evolve from here. Verstappen, when he takes his pit stop, has got a 10-second penalty. So he's going to lose out to Hamilton in that. Then what do Mercedes do? Hamilton's going to go race to race with Valtteri Bottas. Do they let them go at it? in a fair way, or do they say, well, actually, we need to minimise Lewis's damage in terms of the championship lead and promote him ahead of his teammate? It's a tough call to make when Bottas is one win away from Sebastian Vettel going into this race.
I'm not sure the team will go swapping cars, Crofty, but, you know, you can't assume that Lewis Hamilton will go catching up with Valtteri Bottas. He's doing a great job.
The front left tyre pressure is slowly dropping. We're monitoring it. Wonderful. Okay, I think we have a slow leak, so we'll box now.
Well, at least it's not brakes.
An unintentional undercut. How about that? You never know, it might work.
Because of a little paper cut on the tyre for Romain Grosjean, who, quite frankly, they could say anything to him at the moment, and I'm not sure it would lighten his mood during the course of a race, other than you're in the points, you're doing very well. He's not in the points at the moment, he pits
and
from P16.
You see it lock up as well, so yeah, just that deflating left front. Not the tyre that came into contact with Hülkenberg's car, that was the other side.
Well, Pirelli say that the soft tyre can do 45 laps, so it's marginal. Can Grosjean go to the end of this race on those soft compound tyres? And I'll tell you what, if a safety car comes out in the next lap or two, he just put himself right on the best strategy possible.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look at it this way. The super soft has already gone further than I had predicted.
Yeah.
And the cars are looking pretty good, actually. You know, the track, what is it now, 54 degrees?
Same sector 1 and 3 lap times.
Okay, leave me alone.
Okay.
Straight out of the Kimi Raikkonen the handbook on how to drive a Formula 1 Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz just didn't care for that information.
You've got one driver out there saying, oh, how I missed you. Another driver saying, leave me alone. You just can't win as an engineer.
What did you prefer? An engineer that constantly...
Both. That's what I prefer.
In the same race.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Roman, stop the car. Just bring the car in slowly. We believe we have a crossed wheel nut, so just go slow. We'll come back to you. Do you feel anything loose?
On the front right, does that look a touch wobbly?
Looked a bit like that through the chicane, but the tyres do wobble around anyway. What corner are we looking at here? It was...
Well,
might be that right front.
Now, that constitutes an unsafe release, I would
That's
imagine.
a sign for cross thread, yeah.
Yeah.
The disappointment on the guy's faces. And he's
out.
parked the car.
He's out and he's parked the car. Romain Grosjean, after a slow puncture, cross-threaded wheel nuts. His race is done and his summer break starts early. And he becomes the second driver to retire from this Hungarian Grand Prix.
What can you do? Yeah, I mean, they say you make your own luck in this game as drivers, but that really was just, you just put it down to bad luck from Roman's point of view, but from a team's point of view, you know, you have to iron out these problems. You can't have a cross-thread situation.
It's his third DNF of the season. Grosjean, who went into this race 13th in the championship with 18 points for the Haas team, who've already equalled their points tally from last season.
1.1 seconds behind is Hülkenberg over Ocon. Ocon's mirrors about to be full of yellow and black.
And this is the gap. Sebastian Vettel to Kimi Raikkonen. 2.9 seconds, 2.9 seconds, 2.8, 2.5, 2.2, now 2.1 seconds. In the last 6 laps, as you pointed out, Ted Kravitz, Kimi has started to catch his teammate.
Well, yes, but also I'm looking at Hamilton's strategy. So it's quite interesting when they know that they're going to get past Verstappen anyway, don't they, guys? So with Verstappen's penalty, he's not really in their race. So Hamilton is suddenly looking at Bottas, trying to get him in the stops and maybe anticipating something. But Bottas, because he's the lead driver on the road, gets the priority, doesn't he? So Bottas is looking then in turn to undercut Raikkonen ahead. So I think it's going to be... the pit window is more or less just opening now. So I think we're going to be looking at high 20s, maybe low 30s for the first stops. I've got an update on the telemetry, guys, from Mercedes.
Oh, yes.
That the telemetry didn't go down globally, as they call it, the engineers in the garage. They just had a little breakdown of the radio communication, specifically from garage to car. But as we heard, it got going again.
Yeah, on board with Nico Hülkenberg now. Is he within? No, he's just fractionally out of DRS range, isn't he?
Yeah, it seems to be stagnating at that 1.1 seconds. Yeah, like you say, just out of the DRS range. And remember, the detection point for this point that he's in now, the activation point down towards turn 2, is at the same place before that final corner. So you have to be close to the car in that final corner and get the benefit of getting to DRS activation.
And of course, hanging on to the car in front through that final corner. You winced when I said that, so it can't be that easy.
It's not easy at all, no. Did you not watch my track guide?
Oh yes, I did, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's from black and white, wasn't it? The days when you were racing? Oh, no, I forget now. Well, he's getting a little bit closer, but not enough on that one. To go back to what Ted was talking about, we're assuming the undercut works here. I don't think the teams necessarily are that confident about it or haven't got a definitive as to whether it works or not. Bottas being nearly 7 seconds now behind Kimi Räikkönen. You're not going to undercut Kimi, you're just going to hope you're going to make a difference. So is it worth Mercedes trying to gamble on Hamilton then? But that then really upsets how Mercedes go racing if they do that to him.
It depends, Crofty, where you'll come out, of course. You know, it's going to be...
Check the steering is hanging to the left when I go straight.
Is it getting worse or is it stable?
I thought it's getting worse.
Understood.
Yeah, that's something you pick up immediately in the car, is whether the steering wheel is just a bit off centre. Sometimes the wind direction can cause that. You know, you pick out one straight on the track and you think, well, that's not really... I'm having to physically turn the wheel to make the car go in a straight line, and something that wasn't happening at the beginning of the race for him.
And the wind down the main straight is now behind the drivers. For the first 2 days here, it had been into the drivers' faces, but now very much behind, so it's gone 180 degrees.
And if you're inside, yeah, you can really see it there.
Yeah.
He's hanging down to the left when he's going down the main straight, and that's not right. It couldn't have started like that.
Is that something then that you go over the curbs and it can affect it, or...?
Sometimes, but from what I've seen, he's driving a very clean race, and it can sometimes be because of tyre wear. You know, maybe the left front has worn down slightly more than the right front. Could be, you know, on this clockwise circuit. More rights than lefts, of course. So, but I would say that's quite a big margin, quite a big angle that he's got there, and the gap continues to come down as well.
Kimi Räikkönen now 1.8 seconds behind his teammate. They're still lapping faster than the Mercs.
Okay, let's see if you can press the marker button if you can hear us.
And Hamilton is still...
Okay, we saw the marker button press. We think the radio is one way.
As you say, still having radio issues.
So, Valtteri, we're having some radio problems still. You are in your VSC and safety car windows, so you'll be in if you see them. Just confirm.
Sounded a bit crackly there, didn't it?
It did. The inference being, I think, that the drivers can't talk back very easily to the team, or certainly we can't hear as easily what the drivers are saying. I mentioned unsafe release involving Romain Grosjean. They're going to have a look at that after the race, and I get the feeling there's a fine coming Haas's way on that one. 1.9 seconds the gap between Vettel and Raikkonen, even though he's just set his fastest lap of the race has Kimi, and it's 7 seconds back to Valtteri Bottas, 2.3 seconds back to Max Verstappen, and 1.7 seconds then back to Lewis Hamilton, who tantalising for him is getting into range of the undercut on Verstappen, but doesn't really need it because Verstappen's going to lose 10 seconds extra in the pit stop anyway.
Exactly. Speaking about getting closer, here's Hülkenberg, closest he's been to the back of that Force India. The problem he's got is that the Force India looks super slippery down the straight line, and even with DRS, I doubt. So here's the detection point. He's just crossed that white line. So I think he's within the second marker now as they cross the line. Can't see it from that angle if he's got DRS activated or not.
He's certainly gaining, isn't he?
But he was within the second. He's 0.7 away, so he'll get it again on the exit here. A bit scruffy through turn 1 with a bit of understeer. And yeah, no chance into turn 2. I was just looking at Vettel's inside left tyre as the car came towards us. Sorry, the front left, and it looks heavily worn on the inside shoulder. That's all that I can spot.
He must have had DRS, because look at the gap there, 0.6 of a second now between Ocon and Hülkenberg. You look at Ocon's record in his first 19 races in Formula 1. He has finished every single one of them, puts him 6 short of Max Chilton's record for consecutive finishes at the start of a Formula 1 career. But crucially, something that Chilton didn't have the luxury of doing at Marussia. He's only failed to score once this year as Esteban Ocon, and that was in Monaco. More points finishes than any other driver outside of the top 3 in the championship, and he's running in the points just at the moment.
No chance, even with DRS they're faster. That's right.
Yep, we can see that. Understood.
So you know what you have to do.
That means bringing him into the pits, but it ain't going to be now. They're not going to do the undercut yet, where you bring the driver in ahead of the car that's in front of them, and then they use the fresh new tyres for a blistering out lap. And whilst they try and respond with the driver in front, it's too late because you've gone faster with that fresher rubber on the next lap.
Exactly, that's what the undercut is. New tyre versus old tyre, basically. You've got one guy out there on the fresh tyres versus one car out there on the old tyres, and there's the undercut, which would be quite effective around this track. Hulkenberg actually backs away now from the Force India, maybe needs to cool the car back down.
Meanwhile,
there's a telltale puff of smoke, wasn't it, from penultimate corner? Did that come from Valtteri Bottas? Probably. Pushing on.
Well, Bottas pushing on, Hamilton pushing on this lap as well. He's closed the gap to 1.6 seconds now to the car in front. And the leader, Sebastian Vettel, is starting to catch Marcus Ericsson in the sound. In fact, he's not only caught him, he's lapped him. So we're seeing the back markers being lapped for the first time in this race now.
Another lock-up from Bottas down into turn 2 this time.
He's pushing, and he's closed the gap by 4/10 to Kimi Raikkonen, so it's back to around about 6.5 seconds, which is the gap between Verstappen and Hamilton you can see on that graphic. Hamilton really starting to reel in the Dutchman now.
And it must be quite frustrating for Lewis. He's thinking, I'm catching this car that I can't really get too close to because of overheating issues, perhaps, and excess tyre wear, and he shouldn't even be there. He's got a penalty coming up, so yeah, it can be a bit frustrating. There you can see on the bottom right of his screen the map to show where Sebastian Vettel, the race leader, is compared to Lewis.
Now, Raikkonen.
House balance, Kimi house balance. Just be aware, Bottas last lap, 22.3.
Yeah, it's okay, but I'm stuck now behind Tip. I start suffering because I'm getting close. My car is absolutely fine.
Understood, mate. Understood.
Look, there's the gap. As they crossed the line, it was actually 1.1 seconds, the gap between Vettel and Raikkonen. He's getting towards DRS range here. Vettel's got issues with his steering not being straight. Whether that's affecting his pace or whether Kimi Raikkonen has just got better grip from his tyres, I don't know.
Well, remember, they had the back end of that Ferrari off for a long time this morning, and you know, the rear end can sometimes affect the steering angle as well. I can't believe it was there from the beginning of the race. He would have mentioned it straight away. It's one of those things the driver picks up immediately. And yeah, he says it's not getting worse, but something he's picked up after a good, well, what, 30 laps.
You spotted it, Ted, this morning. The Joe Bauer, the technical Rottweiler from the FIA down to supervising the Ferrari garage. I'm not saying that Sebastian Vettel's race is in a bit of jeopardy at the moment, but it's not a comfortable afternoon out there for him.
Oh, the J word, probably.
Yes.
Who knows? Well, we'll see what happens at the stop. We've got to stop now at Williams, and their race hasn't been going too well because Stroll has been, it is Stroll, by the way, who pits. Yep. He has been stuck behind Danny Pitts, we've been saying, and actually on the faster tyre than Paul Di Resta, hasn't actually been much quicker. Di Resta's been going great guns on the soft tyre. The slower tyre of the two has been doing more or less the same.
Ted, sorry, in comes Valtteri Bottas. We'll talk about Paul in a couple of seconds. He's about to be lapped by Sebastian Vettel. Bottas stops, soft tyres go on. Seems to be held a little bit longer than you would normally expect. Yeah, 3.5 seconds Valtteri Bottas held there. That's not the greatest stop for him indeed.
That won't be breaking any records, will it? No. And it's not going to help him to on his quest for an undercut.
Now, what's interesting here, obviously Mercedes know when they're going to pit. Lewis Hamilton goes ahead of his teammate. Hamilton just started to wind things up a little bit and had just started to put the hammer down, as it were, and he's got very close indeed to Max Verstappen. Now, that's what happened here with Bottas. Yeah, the front left didn't go on properly, did it?
Not at all. It went well. The wheel went on properly. It was the gun.
He had a second go at it. And out into the race, as I mentioned, Paul di Resta being lapped by Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen.
Fronts are not in a healthy shape.
Understood. Will be true.
Don't extend it.
Kimi just hanging back 1.5 seconds behind his teammate there. We're on lap 32 of this race. In comes Lewis Hamilton for his stop now. Normally you'd say trying the undercut on Max Verstappen, but Verstappen obviously has got that extra 10 seconds on his pit stop.
And I know they had traffic on that lap, Crofty, but that was a really slow lap for both Ferraris, both in the 23.6s, 23.7s, and behind them, the guys still lapping in the 22.6s.
Now, Hamilton gets out. He is still behind his teammate. He's closed the gap a little bit because he was stationary for a second less than Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes playing it fair, but now you get the feeling that Hamilton, if he can put the hammer down a little bit, might just be in a position to make an overtake or two if he can try on his teammate in a few laps' time. Ted, down to you.
So Ferrari have got a problem. They're being told by Sebastian Vettel, don't extend it, don't let me go longer on these tyres. They're starting to get a bit worn down, but they've still got Silverstone in the back of their mind, haven't they, Crofty? The last race where the soft tyre blew up at the end.
Ted,
they're coming out now. Yeah, here you go, over to you.
We can see out of the commentary box window that they are coming out and they're getting ready. The car that's heading down the pit lane at the moment is Kevin Magnussen, pitting from 14th in the race. Soft tyres will be going on. Now here is Lewis Hamilton lapping the Sauber of Pascal Wehrlein.
Yeah, they would have lost some time. Here's Vettel in the pits.
And Vettel comes into the pits then. Our race leader is now Kimi Räikkönen. And the Ferrari boys get to it very swiftly indeed. Looked pretty perfect from that angle. 3 seconds, maybe half a second slower than you would normally expect, which might interest Kimi Räikkönen in a few moments' time. And while that was going on, Bottas has just set a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.6. A little lock-up from Sebastian Vettel going into turn one. Vettel ahead then of Bottas and of Hamilton.
But it was Hamilton that set the fastest middle sector and last sector of that lap. So, yeah, both Mercedes proving that despite being on the soft tyre now, a new tyre easily beats an older super soft.
They did more of their running on the soft compound tyre in the hotter conditions on the Friday and the Saturday morning, Mercedes. The super soft, they got out of the way Friday morning.
And they looked good on the soft tyre. Can they bring the fight back to Ferrari in the second half of the race? What's gone on here? Down into
Kimi Räikkönen.
Hey, what the is this really? I mean, if they cannot see, if they cannot see behind, then you should stay on the reporting stuff and not that.
Kimi wants Paul di Resta back in the commentary box where he'll be for Spa, I'm sure, but we'll welcome him with open arms, Kimi, and maybe get you to stand at the sky pad with him. That'd be an interesting conversation.
So first of all, he asked,
a feature on blue flags.
He asked who it was, in quite a rude way, and then but he knew exactly who it was.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher watches on. Sebastian Vettel comes round the final corner now. Räikkönen, a quicker stop by about 0.3 of a second than his teammate. Now, how close is this going to be as Kimi gets to the end of the pit lane now? Vettel's coming down the main straight. Vettel gets out just ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, and it is only just a couple of tenths more quicker for Kimi's pit stop. He might well have taken the lead there. It is still Sebastian Vettel ahead of Kimi Räikkönen. Leading the race is Max Verstappen, but he's got to stop again. That was tight for the two Ferraris.
We're on the backup radio now. See if you can transmit. Okay, there's no joy on the backup radio. We can see you keying up.
So at least that means that the team know that Lewis can hear them. That's the better way round.
And out goes Kimi Räikkönen there after his stop. Ted, down to you.
Better stop for Räikkönen, actually, than for Vettel. Vettel's car was moving around a bit when they put the front left on, Crofty. The force of the wheel gun going on sort of pushed the car skewered sideways.
Kimi said he wanted to stay out.
He had the speed to stay out.
Speed to stay out. But he was involved complaining about Paul di Resta. Kimi's probably safe in the knowledge, guys, that no one's going to offer him a broadcasting job after he retires. So the amount he speaks and the level he speaks it at. So he's probably safe in the knowledge that he's not going to be a reporter when he's not being a racing driver anymore. But just quickly, when Vettel did leave the box, The steering looked to me quite straight. It didn't look like, Anthony, that he was having to pull it at an angle anymore.
Kimi Räikkönen is welcome in the commentary box with Martin Brundle and myself anytime he wants.
Is he? We're not going to get much reaction out of him.
For the odd comment, that's not a problem at all. And talking of Martin Brundle, who's recuperating well on the sofa back at home this afternoon, he has just sent me this text message. Sebastian Vettel harvesting all the way down the pit straight last time out. He's watching intently there, and why would Vettel be harvesting all the way down the pit straight?
Try my best, Martin. He's still spotting things laying on your side, watching TV, listening to us that I can't. Right, be more aware, Davidson. I keep trying. Thanks, Martin.
Ted, down to you.
Just quickly, Perez has had a slow pit stop. The right rear was slow going on.
Thank you very much. Perez comes back out into the race in 12th place.
No front left or rear left.
Copy, Carlos, copy. Do your best.
Right, so Carlos Sainz, I think, wants to come in. Look, he's still got Fernando Alonso pressurising him all the way there. 34 laps on this set of super soft tyres. Will the McLaren come in first and try the undercut, or will they both come in at the same time? We shall see on that one. Verstappen continues to lead. This is the Perez pit stop, as Ted mentioned. Wasn't the slickest in the world because of that right rear tyre. He had a fairly comfortable advantage over Stoffel van Dorn when he did pit. Now, Paul di Resta in the pits. Not the easiest thing to do on a very dusty concrete apron, this Ted Kravitz.
No, and he handled it brilliantly. He did it gingerly, I think we should say. He was slow and steady, not particularly slow, but certainly steady into the box. The Williams guys did a brilliant job, got him changed, then the light went out, and I'm not sure Paul was expecting it.
Right, so, Ted, hang on 2 seconds. Fernando Alonso is out. Oh, and Carlos Sainz is out in the nick of time as the Toro Rosso and the McLaren came in together there. But now Alonso is all over the back of Carlos Sainz, and let battle recommence between these two. Last time they tried and got that close, it got a little bit tasty out there. Can Alonso find a way down the inside of the turn two? Not on this particular occasion.
Oh, a little slip there from Sainz mid-corner.
Now,
Turn 4 can be an overtaking opportunity, but has he got the power in this Honda to do it?
He has got the power in this Honda. He's almost out of
go. That would have been too brave. Would have been too brave, even for Fernando Alonso. But that was a proper battle of the pit stops, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Young Spaniard, older Spaniard. Sainz says, I'll get my elbows
he's made a mistake, Fernando.
He has.
He locked up.
Oh, and very nearly came back on the track ahead of the Toro Rosso anyway. He's not helping the longevity of these tyres, but he's having a great go of this. Fernando Alonso, who says, yeah, when it comes to a Spanish battle, you can get your elbows out, mate, but I'm a martyr.
They often find themselves on the same bit of tarmac, don't they, these two?
And do you know what?
This was the moment into that chicane. You could see him sort of wiggling the car around in desperation, not knowing when he should turn in, and opted to take to the red stuff. And look at this, Hamilton right behind Bottas.
Well, I did say that in a couple of laps' time, a few laps' time, he might well be on his teammate's tail. That is how it has transpired here. Whether Bottas has made a slight error on this lap, I don't know, because the gap has come down by about 0.6 of a second on lap 37.
He was slow in the first sector, Crofty. He only did a 30.0 compared to Hamilton's 29.3.
Hamilton making those adjustments on the steering wheel down that short straight into turn 11. He'll have DRS when they get to the main straight. Fernando Alonso is ahead of Carlos Sainz. He's moved up into 9th place.
Huge understeer for Lewis. He went a bit deep into the penultimate corner. Quite a lot of understeer. Different balance in that car, clearly, from the super soft to the soft tyre. Might help, though, save the rear tyres for later on.
And it looks to me like they're going at a fairly good rate, the two Mercedes, which is going to put a bit of pressure maybe on the Ferraris up ahead as well. Vettel's got a 1.7 second advantage over his teammate Kimi Räikkönen. And they're coming up to back markers as well. The two Ferraris of Vettel and Räikkönen. And I said that Fernando Alonso had got past Carlos Sainz. Down the inside he goes. The door was open for Sainz, who then made the switch back.
And then he had the DRS down towards turn 2.
But Alonso round the outside.
Just like I was talking about in the track guide, if you had bothered to watch it, Crofty. you go for a desperate move down the inside into turn 1, helped by DRS, and you know that you've got it on the run down towards turn 2 as well to out-drag the competitor you're racing against. So beautiful stuff there from the McLaren driver, as you would expect. Hamilton, fastest overall.
Going full speed because obviously Mercedes is catching. I have nothing that I can do.
Understood, Kimi, understood. He has handling issues at the minute, Kimi. He's struggling with his handling.
Listen, there's 13...
And try to avoid heavy curbing. Try to avoid heavy curbing.
So is it the curbs that is the issue that has caused Sebastian Vettel to have those steering problems?
So try to avoid heavy turning.
Curbing.
Oh, curbing.
I thought he said. That's Max Verstappen, who is the race leader, but he won't be after the pit stops. And at the moment, you're looking 30... He'll drop back ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn, but behind Lewis Hamilton when he takes that 10-second time penalty.
So, this is very interesting. What are Ferrari going to do? I don't think they've ever been in this situation before, have they, with these two drivers, with Kimi being on the attack, Vettel clearly holding him up and allowing the two Mercedes drivers to close up. What do you do as the team?
If Ferrari want to win this race, which of course they do, surely...
So we believe Vettel has an issue, so you can close him down.
Surely the best thing for them to do at the moment is to let Kimi Raikkonen past his teammate. But in the championship battle, the last thing that Sebastian Vettel's going to stand for is having points taken away from him.
Of course. So that's why I'm really intrigued now to see what the team are going to do. Kimi, clearly faster.
Sebastian
crying
Vettel
on the radio to let me by. Look, you know, why didn't you leave me out there longer anyway? I had the speed in the car, my teammate's struggling. I've got these two silver cars catching me up as Hamilton darts to the inside.
Wants some cooler air, I think.
Or to show his teammate that he is there, but yeah, maybe getting a bit of cool air, but you run the risk of picking up the marbles like he just has a slide into turn 1.
And who makes that call down at Ferrari? Is it Maurizio Arrivabene, who's so nervous he can barely sit down on those plush red leather seats?
Someone higher up maybe that might have decided to come along and watch this race.
Yes, in the background, in the garage, the president, Marchioni, watching on. Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen, it's believed that they are going to be retained for next season at Ferrari. Expect that announcement maybe to come over the Monza weekend. They work well as teammates together, but as teammates at the moment, do they need a little more teamwork? And for the good of the team, is it better for Raikkonen to be ahead and not to be held up quite so much by his teammate? And the longer this continues, the more it's going to hamper Kimi Raikkonen's tyres, the more it's going to hurt the two Mercedes behind them as well. So maybe is that what Ferrari wants in total? I don't know.
Lewis backing off this lap, giving himself a bit of a breather. We saw him hunting for a bit of clear air on that main straight as well.
Bono, the race engineer for Hamilton, a lot of concentration etched on his face there. Sergio Marchioni, by the way, he's on his phone in the garage watching on. Not sure whether he's tweeting or sending a text.
Whatever you make, don't put me under massive threat from Mercedes for no reason.
Understood, understood.
Well, look, last lap, and there is the president. Last lap, 1.7 seconds, the gap between Raikkonen and Bottas, but Bottas was 0.4 faster. Hamilton was slightly slower than his teammate. That gap's gone to 1.4 seconds now.
Yeah, Hamilton did a 21.8 last lap. Sorry, 2 laps ago, and just this lap, yeah, 21.9. So still lapping pretty fast.
Any sudden drop from the front left tyre, you let us know, please.
I will.
An amazing run by Verstappen. I know he's effectively out of this race, but in terms of fighting at the front, but he's been out on those tyres for such a long time. Just really goes to show how kind the Red Bull was on its tyres today.
Sebastian Vettel will lead this race if Max Verstappen pits in the near future. But as Verstappen goes into turn 1, we see Danny Kvyat coming back out. Lance Stroll comes into the picture, and behind Stroll, Vettel, Raikkonen, Bottas and Hamilton starting to catch the Williams that will be about to be lapped. Sebastian Vettel, who had those hydraulics issues that required a lot of attention in the garage before this race. Sebastian Vettel, who has led this race for the majority of it from pole position, but now has steering problems as well. Whether that's related, the hydraulics and the steering issues, we won't know until afterwards, but he's not having a comfortable Sunday out there at the moment, and his teammate Kimi Räikkönen is not enjoying being kind of the meat filler in the non-vegetarian sandwich that's going on between Sebastian Vettel and the two Mercedes that are catching them.
All three cars behind Sebastian Vettel, who's effectively your race leader, 0.3 faster on that last lap.
Ted, down at Ferrari, how tense is the situation getting?
Very. It's improved slightly. Verstappen's coming in this lap. It's improved slightly since the new tyres went on, the team tell me, but they do still have the problems.
So Ferrari cannot use the curbs, just close them down and attack.
But they say that they're keeping it under control. They're going to keep the order as it is at the moment, significantly. There's not much they can do. He's made his only pit stop, they think, of the race, and they're just going to hold on and hope it doesn't get any worse. That's the view from Ferrari.
Okay, but keeping off the curbs, is that the issue then, as the patient wait is over for Max Verstappen? He serves his 10-second penalty for running into his teammate, running him out of the race, and the stewards, Gary Connolly on the right and Del Boy Derek Warwick on the left-hand side, making that decision right at the start of this race. Verstappen is back out again, and he has gone from first now down to fifth. Sebastian Vettel leads this race once again, but it's what's happening behind Sebastian Vettel that is causing the tension and the excitement at the moment. And he is right now, Sebastian Vettel, on the tail of Lance Stroll at a moment in the track, Anthony, where you don't want to be trying to lap someone, because it's not easy in that middle sector.
No, you can't get out of the way, and I think that's why Räikkönen was probably complaining about Paul di Resta when he caught him in the same part of the track. It's there are marbles everywhere. You try your best to get out of the way, but it's not easy. As Van Dorn exits the pits, driving a good clean race. Was in P7.
Well, Vettel has got past, Räikkönen has got past Lance Stroll, now Bottas and Hamilton, but they'll be able to do it with a bit of DRS as well down the main straight, as we watch Stoffel Van Dorn, who's back out into this race in 12th place after his pit stop. We can have a look at that pit stop again.
Well, you run a bit forward there, and a bit far in the box.
You say a bit?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, kind of like a long way. But
good job they don't do refueling these days. Watch how the guys have to shift.
Whoa,
yeah, so
Jackman nearly up in the air, or was up in the air, and nearly shunted along to the next door garage. But it's dusty, it's concrete and it's dusty and it's slippy down there, isn't it?
It is, and yeah, slowing cars down into to turn one. At the 100-metre board, they seem to do all right, but when you come to an absolute standstill, it's a different game.
Right, Ted, we haven't mentioned Jolyon Palmer for some time now. He hasn't pitted yet, has he?
He hasn't pitted. 42 laps and one set of tyres. He's obviously being frugal like they need.
Radio check.
Oh, I've got your back, Lewis. Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Okay, man, look, I got a lot of pace. Not let me use it. I don't know why the Ferraris are slow. I don't know why.
Yeah, copy, Lewis. We're looking into it. We are looking into the situation. We're aware.
And this radio stuff sucks. My last tyres were perfect. I could have kept going.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Lewis. Yeah, it's all a bit rubbish at the moment. But yeah, keep your head down. Race is going to come to us. Just keep your tyres in good shape. And yeah, things will start happening soon.
I think he means
that I can't catch them and get past them. I have to let them back past. Or just let me know when I can race Valtteri.
Yeah, copy, Lewis. Yeah, we are looking at it. We are managing it. We'll let you know.
It's all coming out now, isn't it? He's been pent up in Lewis Hamilton.
Absolutely.
I want to complain about stuff. I want you to order me past Bottas. Come on.
It's like starting watching a movie halfway through it, isn't it? So no, fill me in, guys. What's been going on?
Okay, but here's the important thing. We'll just move from Palmer, and Hülkenberg hasn't stopped either, his teammate. If you were Toto Wolff at the moment, would you say, right, that's actually a fair request? We're far enough away, clear of Verstappen. If Valtteri, you got 2 or 3 laps. If you can't close Kimi Räikkönen and pass him, we're going to let Lewis past. We need to let Lewis past. If he doesn't make it, we'll swap it back at the end.
Well, I think the problem is we've all got Crofty, and Räikkönen included as well. They can't get any closer than this until their car starts overheating.
Right.
That's the situation they're in. They're not.
And this is Sergio Perez down the inside of Jolyon Palmer. Yes, it is. And to be fair, Perez on tyres that have only done 10 laps, and Palmer on tyres that have actually done 44 laps.
Yeah, easy picking there, really. Palmer didn't put up a fight, as you'd expect. He's on a completely different strategy, obviously, to the drivers around him. And when it's like that, you just have to keep focused and do the job.
And here's Ocon now trying to get past Jolyon Palmer as well. And this is a fight for points, albeit Palmer's going to drop out of the points positions because he needs to pit at some stage.
Sorry to butt in there, Crofty. Verstappen absolutely flying out there. Last lap was a 20, and yeah, comfortably in the 20s. This lap a 21.0.
Well, he's a second clear of Lewis Hamilton in terms of his last lap time. If he keeps doing that, Lewis Hamilton has got past Valtteri Bottas
there we go.
now. Yeah, they've made that order at Mercedes. Now, just as I was asking the question, should it happen? It has happened. The trouble they've got is if Verstappen carries on at that pace, it might not be so easy to flip it round at the end.
Exactly. Right, so let's see what you can do, Lewis. You said you could. Time to shine, boy.
Right. And obviously, Danny Kvyat, Kevin Magnussen up ahead.
Okay, Lewis, Valtteri's going to let you pass into turn 1. You can go strap mode 3. Ferraris are just up ahead.
Now, claims he's faster. Claims he's had a brilliant car all the way through this race. Niki Lauda points it out.
Yeah, well, Nicky's now aware of the situation as well. Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, they're going to be coming up behind Danny Kvyat and Kevin Magnussen soon to lap
20.8 straight away, Crofty, from Lewis Hamilton.
As opposed to a 21.8 from Kimi Raikkonen and a 21.7 from Sebastian Vettel. And the gap was only about 4 seconds between Vettel and Hamilton.
He wasn't lying.
And avoid curbs, pace is good.
And Vettel still being told to avoid the curbs, and if you do that, you're going to go slower.
But the problem is, when he gets to the back of Kimi Raikkonen, he's going to be faced with the same situation as when he was behind his teammate.
All right, so
he's got the fast car, but he's also got a car that looks like it's going to either hurt the tyres when you get too close or start overheating.
So in the last 7 races, Lewis Hamilton, the only time he's been on the podium is when he has won a race. 3 times he's been on the podium. After that, no, the other 4 races, he's been outside of it. He stands on the top step or he doesn't stand on any step, it seems, at the moment. And he's got to get past Raikkonen and he's got to get past Vettel to pick up a 6th win at the Hungaroring this afternoon. He's got 23 laps to do it. Ted, the race, the charge is on.
All right, so let's have a think about how much Hamilton has lost if really this pace he did have after his stop, Crofty. You see where I'm going with this? Being stuck behind Bottas. I mean, it's just the rub of the green, isn't it? Bottas was ahead of him from the start after Verstappen got Hamilton. So it is just the rub of the green. But you've got to say, 15 laps he's been stuck after his stop behind Bottas. So what do you reckon? Well, 5 seconds, 6, 7,
possibly,
7 seconds,
possibly, yeah.
Like that?
Obviously, you've got to look at when they went on the soft tyres as well. Another 7/10 quicker than Raikkonen on that last lap. But the problem that Mercedes have had is that they could talk to the driver, but he couldn't talk back again.
No, but it's faster than Bottas. That's my point. Yeah. So he's 7/10 on this lap now, faster than Bottas, Hamilton. So he has got a point, and no wonder Niki Lauda seems frustrated when he sees the inherent pace that Hamilton had.
Right, what happened to Hülkenberg at his stop? That looked like the guy on the jack went up in the air a bit as well. They couldn't get the front right tyre off very cleanly at all. And there's this Nico Hülkenberg. Oh, his race absolutely ruined by the fact that the wheel nut wouldn't come off.
What is going on in the pits today?
Often happens here at Hungary, you know.
Look at the gap coming down. Now, how close can he get?
Well, he's 0.6 of a second quicker on this lap so far than Kimi Raikkonen. He wants to get within DRS range.
I mean, Lewis could spot from being stuck behind his teammate how slow the Ferraris suddenly were. He had no idea why, because he couldn't communicate on the radio. So, yeah, now he can see them up ahead with no one in the way.
Second he's taken off Raikkonen. This is now the crucial lap. Second, 7/10, half a second, needs to get within DRS range. Then he can start to really attack.
But can you do that?
And Raikkonen's like, well, I'd love to know what Kimi is saying on the Ferrari radio at the moment.
Lewis will let you go by if he can't get past Raikkonen.
I think that's a really fair way to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Red Bull did it, you know, with Kvyat and Ricciardo at Monaco a few years ago. They've got to give it a go. It's a team sport at the end of the day, and they want the points for the Constructors' Championship as much as anything.
The trouble is, I mean, we've already talked about it. Verstappen lapping, basically he's matching Lewis Hamilton's lap times. 21.4 that last lap for Verstappen, 21.3 for Lewis Hamilton, and 22.0 for Bottas.
But here's the other thing as well. See, you've got Verstappen and Bottas could be quite close by the end of it. You're Kimi Raikkonen. I want to hear from him at the moment. You've said to the team already, you've put me in an impossible position. I'm going to get challenged by Mercedes. You should have let me pass my teammate, who, I don't know if Kimi knows this or not, we know has steering issues.
He's clearly the faster car.
I don't know. I'm not the most comfortable position right.
So Vettel has been told to push. Vettel has been told to push. Stay with him.
Well, and the resultant effort of Sebastian Vettel pushing is that he and Hamilton matched their lap times on that last lap. Raikkonen was a tenth of a second slower than those two.
I wonder if it was a steering issue or if Vettel was just really concerned about the tyres after Silverstone, and he's been basically playing it cool and putting the tyres through as least stress as possible. But then the team they did come out and say stay off the curb, so they can clearly see a situation.
We've seen that steering issue down the straight on the super soft tyres.
But that seems to be, suddenly for the first time in a long time, he's been able to match the speed of Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Raikkonen on that last lap.
I'm going to mention his name again, Danny Kvyat. He's not that far ahead of this three-way fight either. Now, he's going to have to be lapped, but, quite often with Danny Kvyat, it's not quite the most straightforward thing on the planet. 2.3 seconds, the gap between Vettel and Hamilton.
He's only got 2 points remaining on his licence. And that's there for a reason.
After impeding in qualifying Lance Stroll, he's now up to 10 penalty points. You go to 12. And it gets to a one-race ban. James Vowles, the chief of strategy at Mercedes, is explaining to Toto Wolff exactly what they've done here and why they've swapped it round a bit. And Lewis Hamilton was a second behind Kimi Raikkonen as they went over the line.
No DRS, though. No. He didn't have DRS that lap.
A few hundredths outside of it. The gap, 2.2 seconds at the end of lap 50 of 70 between Sebastian Vettel, who leads, and Hamilton, who's third.
So make sure you can stay close to Lewis so that we can re-invert the cars.
And at the moment, Valtteri Bottas is about 3.5 seconds off his teammate. He needs to get a bit of a move on because Max Verstappen, now 8.8 seconds behind, is consistently lapping quicker and quicker and quicker. I'll tell you what, don't go anywhere, because for the next 19 laps or so, absolutely anything can happen here at the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Apparently Lewis has been told by his team he's got 5 laps to make it happen.
Because if it doesn't, then they can't risk doing the swap in the last 10 or so. And this Christian Horner foot tapping is kind of catching a bit down at Mercedes now as well, and down at Ferrari as well. More foot tappers here than a folk club social on a Friday night, quite frankly. But who's going to win out? Vettel, Raikkonen, Hamilton. The top three separated by about 2 seconds in the heat of the Hungaro Ring on this Sunday afternoon. And a 1 second Raikkonen behind Vettel.
It's getting very hard to get close.
Just do what you can. You've got overtake available.
And when they say...
we're going to have 5 laps to try and make something of this. 5 laps.
And when they say...
No pressure then.
No, they could have given you 4. When they say overtake available, and you've driven the sim, what is that? Just a magic boost on the engine?
Sorry, that's classified information, Crofty. It doesn't take away power, just put it that way.
Good. Inside was Magnussen, outside was Hülkenberg locking up Nico Hülkenberg. This is the battle for 11th place.
So Vettel matching the lap times once again. That lap 21.8 compared to Lewis's 21.8 as well. And Verstappen still the fastest car on track. 21.0 that last lap. What could have been? Hey.
Absolutely. We're watching the top 3 here. Behind them, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen. Worth a mention, Fernando Alonso running in 6th place at the moment and 4 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. Alonso on for a top 6 finish. Kimi Raikkonen.
That's the closest he's been in a long time, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, can he hang on to this And look, Sebastian Vettel squirming about on those tyres, out in the lead. On board with Kimi Räikkönen.
Within DRS range.
Within DRS range and catching his teammate and pulling away from Hamilton behind him. Räikkönen, to try and improve his position, is now attacking his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Will he be allowed to attack him and take the race win as well? Because that yet could still happen here at the Hungaroring. He's not quite close enough into turn 2, but he'll carry on the fight now with Danny Kvyat just ahead of the Ferraris, and you can see him disappearing round turn 4 and about to be lapped very shortly. Hamilton now 1.6 seconds behind Kimi Räikkönen. The Finn has rather pulled himself away from the threat behind him and will want to carry on the challenge now to the 4-time world champion in front.
Yeah, looks like Kimi's really got the bit between the teeth now and put him a marker down there, proving to the team, look how fast I am, come on. But no response yet from what the team's decision is. Lewis Hamilton running out of time. As he sees the two Ferraris starting to pull away once again on that lap. Räikkönen personal best through the first sector. He's being nice and neat and tidy, Crofty. He's keeping the car to the inside. Last time I rode on board with Lewis Hamilton, he kept missing the apexes, wide in turn 1, wide in turn 2. Kimi's keeping it nice and neat there.
In 2012, 2013, when he finished second here, both years Kimi Räikkönen, as Hülkenberg goes for another move on Magnussen. When Räikkönen was driving for the Enstone team, preserving his tyres was very much the name of the game that time around. And he is so much closer going into turn 2 this time around.
The leaders are going to be involved in that scrap, aren't they, soon?
Meanwhile, Verstappen 7.2 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas, now still gaining on him. You can see Magnussen, Hülkenberg scrapping for 11th place. Danny Kvyat currently in 13th. They're about to be lapped by the race leader. There he is, Sebastian Vettel. There is his teammate Kimi Räikkönen. Hamilton in the silver arrow just behind.
And this is the worst part of the track, as we mentioned before, Crofty, to catch traffic. There's nothing they can do in terms of getting out of the way, and you get affected by that turbulent air when you're following them.
And now Vettel is feeling what Kimi Räikkönen's been feeling for quite some time as well. Under pressure and struggling a bit with those steering issues as well, and being told to keep off the curbs.
And he's going to feel it in that last corner, because he's going to catch that Toro Rosso in front. Round here, there we go, you can see the gap come down between the two Ferraris, and he's going to feel it into this corner as well, picking up the understeer in that Ferrari.
Just a few
Kimi
comments in it. Yeah, was Kimi just a bit too quick to get on the power there. DRS for him, but not for Hamilton behind. As down towards turn 1 they go once again. It looked to me actually like Hamilton had caught up a little bit with Räikkönen. He had in that last lap. Hamilton was only 7 tenths behind Räikkönen when he crossed the line. Kvyat keeps out of the way of 1, 2 and not 3 for this moment. Eventually Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm going to only ruin my tyres even more. Is this what we're going to do the whole rest of the race right now?
Confirm, Kimi, confirm. Hamilton has backed off slightly for engine temps.
Yeah, so he did back off, and that's why Lewis is giving it one last try. Last lap round, both Ferraris in the 22s, Lewis Hamilton 21.7.
Thing is though, Ted, watching Max Verstappen's times at the moment, you rather get the feeling they could give Hamilton a couple more laps and still make the switch if they needed to.
Yeah, I think they will give Hamilton a few more laps, because this is a changing picture. Kimi Räikkönen reminding Ferrari he's a racing driver, and it's just like he's remembered he's a racing driver, not just a servant for Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel. So come on, Kimi, let's see what you've got. But they're dropping Bottas, aren't they, guys? Bottas can't keep up with this pace.
Does rather show that what Hamilton said was right, and look how much closer he is now to Kimi Räikkönen.
This is better from Lewis. I'm still not sure he's within the DRS range, but he's keeping it tighter in those corners where he can understeer.
Massive pack of blues coming up.
Yeah, back markers, you can see them there. Magnussen, Hülkenberg, as Vettel crosses the line ahead of Kimi, who locks up going into turn 1 ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who rounds the corner and sees the red cars disappearing off down the hill and into the distance. Last win in Australia, 2013, Kimi Räikkönen is second on the road at the moment, second where he's finished here before in 2012, 2013, 2009, 2007 and 2003. He has won here before. He would dearly love to win here again. Will he be allowed to go and challenge? At the moment, it doesn't quite look like it.
There's nothing they can do, as far as I can see, Crofty. It's such a frustrating situation, as much for us and the guys back at home watching this, as it is for the drivers. You know, they can't get close enough because they lose the grip and then overheat the engine. What a ridiculous situation to be in, but that is the Hungaroring.
Oh, for heaven's sake, we've said it before, and then we've had some classic races here, but we're getting back to a traditional Hungarian Grand Prix.
Just want to see the fastest driver and team combo be able to drive as fast as they can right through to the end of the race and not have to back out of it all the time.
Frustratingly, are we seeing the fastest driver and team combo out in front, or are we not going to know at the end of this race? Because I suppose it depends on what tyre they were on as well.
I'm trying to get the feeling that if it was a straight fight between Kimi Räikkönen today and Lewis Hamilton, I think Kimi would have had it. But he can't go as fast as he can, and Lewis certainly can't either.
So there's Nico Hülkenberg keeping out of the way. On board with Hamilton. And bypasses the Renault there, down in 12th place. Jolyon Palmer down in 14th after his pit stop now ran so well on the super soft tyres at the start, but his race strategy coming undone. Ooh, talking of coming undone, Max Verstappen's race getting a little bit nervy when he went off the track at turn 11.
So a lot of drivers get caught out with that one in free practice in the first session. Just losing the rear end on turning. Red Bulls looked so good all weekend, and that's the first time I've really seen the back, the rear end being a bit nervous.
So lap 57 here as it stands at the moment.
Okay, Lewis, so we've been given 5 more laps, front calipers reaching the limit.
Don't worry about it. You want me to let me battery back, yeah? Don't need to bust my nut off anymore.
So negative Lewis. Keep the pressure on the Ferraris if you can.
I think by that comment, he's just succumbed to the fact that there's nothing he can do. Every time he gets close, he has to back out of it again. So he's asking, look, do you want to swap the cars around again? Tell you what, the back markers, they're not being very helpful at this stage. Hülkenberg really getting in the way of Valtteri Bottas in that third to last corner.
Well, Kevin Magnussen didn't exactly keep out of the way there, going in the first corner as well. George Russell, who'll be driving the Mercedes in the Young Driver Test next week. And a test very much eagerly awaited, not just to see how George Russell copes with the Silver Arrows, but how Robert Kubica fares as well when he drives for Renault on Wednesday, I think it is.
Yeah, Wednesday's the first day of the testing.
Watch the Sky Sports News F1 website for all the information from the Hungaroring. Our reporters will be very much on the case that particular day.
Hamilton going for ever more early turn-ins into the corners in a quest to try to limit the amount of turbulent air. If you can sometimes just get even a quarter of the front wing away from that turbulence, it gives you a bit more bite on the front end.
Once again, onto the main straight, and DRS.
Right, he's got it this
Hamilton.
time.
He has got it this time, and he can put his foot down and try and get ever closer to Kimi Räikkönen. I'll tell you what, a good exit coming off turn 1 here, and he might be able to put some pressure on going down into turn 2, but it looks like the Ferraris cope nicely with that first turn, and Hamilton's just a little bit too far back to really make the move, but he swings wide going through that corner to try and get a better slingshot out of it and pressure Kimi now onwards towards turn 4.
Tyres are holding in. I'm just waiting for a mistake from them. I go above in front.
Hey, copy that, Lewis. We hear you.
He loses out. There's that turbulence coming from the car in front that just caught him out there. The reason why he was going wide, Crofty, in turn 2 was what I was talking about before, just trying to stay away from the wake of the car in front to give your car, although you're on slightly dirtier part of the track, you've got the downforce at least. And if you just stick behind the car in front, then directly in front, you lose. It's like half of your grip just goes. It's this kind of invisible barrier that you can never get close to. It's what we all feared from this season. Yeah, the cars are really fast, but they kick up some turbulence. And this was that moment in turn 5. So he goes into the corner and then just loses the rear.
That could have come off worse as well there. Decent save from Hamilton in the end. Just looking at the moment for closer battles further back. Esteban Ocon and Sergio Perez. Nothing really going on down at Force India. Perez trying to catch Carlos Sainz for 7th. He's 1.5 seconds further back at the moment. Paul di Resta running in 18th place. And last in this race on his return to the Formula One racetrack, Romain Grosjean and Daniel Ricciardo, we have lost on this race. Di Resta round about 2.5 seconds behind Pascal Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson, who, to be fair to them, have been coping admirably here. Ericsson's only stopped the once, and that was a long time ago, actually, behind the safety car, running those soft tyres for 56 laps at the moment.
Yeah, Vettel's last lap was actually pretty impressive, a 21.1, faster than all of the front runners, and making a bit of a gap on his teammate Kimi Raikkonen for the first time in a long time. Obviously Lewis with a 21.7 with that mistake in turn 5. How can he respond this lap?
If it all ends this way, of course, with Ferrari getting the 1-2, then their decision to hold station and not allow Kimi Raikkonen to go by will be vindicated.
Not sure why Lewis almost drove off the track there on the last corner.
A little bit of brake dust coming from the front of that Mercedes as into turn 1 he goes, sliding out of that corner and continuing to drop down the hill. Sebastian Vettel still leading this race, on course for what would be a second podium in his last 4 races for the man who was on the podium at the first 6 races, including 3 wins. Well, maybe another victory still beckons here. His first, it would be Ted Kravitz since Monaco.
It would, and much needed, and his pace has improved last time round, a 10th quicker than Kimi Raikkonen. I'm just where I am, Crofty. It's just brilliant. I'm watching Maurizio Arrivabene, who's kind of on and off the Ferrari pit stand like a jackrabbit anyway. I think he goes for comfort breaks, and he likes to go and sort of tour around the garage, but he is looking like one of the more nervous Arrivabenes of recent times. Marchione, of course, his boss in the garage. You can just imagine, don't mess this up. Right. Oh, this is the Magnussen-Hulk battle.
It is. Hulkenberg's having to go around the outside again, trying to hang on in there. And it has to be said, Kevin Magnussen did not leave him any room whatsoever as he made his way around the outside. Is that a little bit heavy-handed from Magnussen?
We said drivers would be getting their elbows out around this circuit, and that's a good demonstration of it.
Well, you said it would be a dirty race.
Yeah. He wanted to join in.
It certainly was. Kevin Magnussen not afraid to mix it there with his former team, of course. Sebastian Vettel leading then in his 50th race start for Ferrari. The weekend that he makes it 50 Grand Prix started for the famous team, becomes the 14th driver to achieve the half-century for the Scuderia, and on course at the moment to rather substantially increase his championship lead going into the summer break. As it stands at the moment, it will be 11 points, but if Hamilton was to let Bottas past, that would increase then by another 3 points. And at the moment, Valtteri Bottas 5 seconds adrift of Lewis Hamilton. The key one there is that Verstappen is 5 seconds further back.
Okay, Paul, I'm afraid we've got a problem with the car. We're going to have to retire the car.
That's a big shame for Paul di Resta there on his return to the racetrack. It's going to be a DNF. We might see if we can go down to Paddy Lowe on the Williams pit wall and find out what the issue is with that Williams car. The stewards have just noted that incident between Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg. And Paul di Resta, who came to Hungary wanting to talk, well, has walked the walk rather than talking the talk this weekend. Impressive in qualifying in a car he's never driven before, and has kept himself out of trouble and on a sensible pace throughout this race, and ended up around about 20 seconds or so, I think, adrift of Lance Stroll, his teammate. Sad for him though, and for Williams, that his race ends in the garage, not seeing the checkered flag.
Yeah, disappointing way to end. And especially so late into the race as well, but at least he got a great taster of what it's like to drive one of these current F1 cars.
And I tell you what, we hope Felipe Massa can return in Spa, and we wish him well, but if he has got problems, and an inner ear problem, it's not the sort of thing that clears up overnight. I think Paul will be doing a little bit more intensive training during the course of the summer break.
You were talking about Max Verstappen earlier on, Crofty, 5 seconds away from that critical fight between, well, not fight, but the possible swap again for Bottas and Hamilton. Here he is on the radio.
Okay, Max, let's push up to Bottas, mate. Push up to Bottas.
So his last lap was a 21.5, and a few laps before it was a 23.5. Right. So he lost a lot of time before. He had got the gap down to 3 seconds. It's back down to 3.8, but it had drifted up to 5.3 at one stage. So
it's now 3.8, and
so he is faster. I just wondered why he had that slow lap a few laps ago, and it wasn't the lap, by the way, where he went off the track in turn 11. It was more recent than that.
There's a decision to be made down at Mercedes now, isn't there? Can we afford to swap the drivers? Will it actually give Verstappen a chance of getting ahead of Hamilton?
I think, yeah, if they're going to stick to their word, I reckon they've got to do it now. It's now or never.
Well, you see, the thing is, Hamilton's dropped back on Raikkonen a little bit as well. Raikkonen's dropped back on Vettel, all of which could be down to cooling issues, because these cars don't like running too close to the car in front. Here's a whole load of back markers and some blue flags to get in on the action as well. You saw Sainz going through the picture, Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon around there, Wehrlein and Ericsson, the two Saubers. And just looking back further afield, Vettel trying to move out a little bit even before he can lap Pascal Wehrlein. He's put a back marker between himself and Kimi Raikkonen.
Verstappen is flying another 20.8 that lap.
I wonder if Mercedes are making the switch here, and Hamilton a second slower that lap than Kimi Raikkonen. Are we about to see that switch being made? The trouble is, Verstappen now 2.5 seconds behind Bottas. And Bottas is 5 seconds behind Hamilton, and you just, with a load of back markers getting involved there as well, you just wonder if they can now make that switch or not.
Right, so there's Bottas on screen. You just saw the flash of yellow and blue behind. That was Verstappen. He's dangerously close, Crofty. I think they've left it too late.
Like giving Hamilton the extra few laps to try and get past, kind of back themselves into a corner where they can't do the fair thing that they wanted to try in the first place.
Perhaps, yeah.
All the cynics would say they've done it deliberately.
Or you could just have faith in just how utterly impossible it is to overtake any cars around this track and do it anyway. But I must say, the Red Bull has been impressively quick this entire race.
What could have been
what could have been.
Race.
Look at them, they're back up there in the fight again.
Yeah. He's now 1.3 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas, who, to be fair, might get overtaken here.
Anyway.
Making this previous argument completely redundant. Bottas is struggling out there as he picks his way through the back markers.
I mean, he's 10 seconds off the lead, and he had a 10-second penalty.
Like I said, what could have been for Red Bull today had Verstappen not taken out his teammate round about turn 2 on the first lap and not picked up the 10-second penalty as well.
We saw it in FP2, didn't we? How the car was on rails.
Yeah.
Verstappen is on a younger, soft tyre. He will be a threat.
Threat to us all, or?
Yeah, A firm.
So they're still trying to stick to the plan here. What is that plan going to happen? And has Hamilton actually got a bit closer to Kimi Raikkonen once again on this lap? He has, you know.
Yeah, the gap
that was 1.8 seconds is not now 1.8 seconds.
The gap ebbs and flows every lap. Another driver that's just done his personal best out there, that's mixing it with the front runners in terms of pace, Fernando Alonso. 1 minute 20.7.
In the top 6, Fernando Alonso, as we look back now to see Valtteri Bottas and a whole heap of blue flags and Max Verstappen with DRS.
Look at the extra speed he can carry into turn 1 with those fresher tyres. DRS open, he's within the range now of the Mercedes driver as they head towards turn 2, and a late apex there for Bottas.
Okay, Kimi, let's not take anything for granted. We don't know what Hamilton's going to do. Just keep going as you are.
Right, on board with Verstappen. Through turn 4 we go. Ted, down to you.
Keep going as you are. What does that mean? But Hamilton does a one back in the 120s, and really that's the times we should be seeing now. 120s and 119s. It's Vettel who's been the cork in the bottle, isn't it, guys? With his the race leader, with his steering problem, and that's just affected everyone else's pace. Verstappen's been quick, sure, and it's close to 10 seconds. But that's because he was in clear air and had that opportunity to do so. Now he's got up to the train, the dreaded train. Let's see if whether he's stuck there or whether he can do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, the real impressive part of the race from Verstappen's side was doing such a long run on the super soft tyre. But then again, you know, the Ferraris had Vettel had the problem, which, like Ted rightly points out, was the cork in the bottle. Good description.
Well, 3 laps remaining of this race. I think Verstappen would rather it was 33 because it gives him a much better chance of getting past Bottas, and it also avoids that moment he has to face his teammate for a little bit longer as well. He's just dropped back a bit, hasn't he, as Valtteri Bottas opens up a bit more pace on that previous lap. Did he just get a little bit out of shape going through the chicane as well, the Dutchman?
Yeah, laid down a few dark lines there as the rear kicked out, and yeah, not sure it would have lost him the time that we saw as they came down the main straight.
The 3 race leaders, Vettel, Raikkonen and Hamilton, all matching each other in the first sector on this lap. 29 seconds each. Vettel with his steering issues still out in front. I'm sure Kimi would either love him to go faster or significantly slower. It's not given Kimi the easiest ride this afternoon, but Ferrari are looking okay for a 1-2 as it stands at the moment. The top 3 all matching each other in the middle sector as well.
It's been like this for so long that, you know, we've seen the cars get closer or more spread apart, and I think it's all to do with who's got the cooler engine at the time and which mode they can run, how much harvesting they're having to do as well, as Martin from back home pointed out before. And that's, you can tell when the car's rain light starts to flash, normally at the end of the straights, as a warning to other drivers that the car's slowing or about to slow down, as the turbo stops giving energy and starts to harvest towards the battery.
Well, the president might just have picked a good day to come to the racetrack. Sergio Marchionne watching on with his cars 1 and 2 at the moment. The last time Ferrari finished first and second here at the Hungaroring, 2004, Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. Schumacher, the last person to win the Hungarian Grand Prix and win the championship in the same year as well. And Michael Schumacher, the last person other than Lewis Hamilton to win this race from pole position. Nico Hülkenberg is not going to win this race. He wasn't going to anyway, but he has been retired from the Hungarian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel has now led more laps in 2017 than he did in either 2015 or 2016. It is a much better season this season for the Scuderia, and he's going to go into the summer break as it stands at the moment with an 11-point advantage at the top of the championship. Kevin Magnussen's got a 5-second time penalty to be added to his race, which will promote up Jolyon Palmer and Danny Kvyat. That's for forcing Nico Hülkenberg off the track. Sebastian Vettel won't give a dot about that as he makes his way on his final lap of this race.
I'm mildly surprised by that one. I thought it was, well, they said they were going to let the drivers race this year, and yeah, to me that was just hard racing. There wasn't any contact, but I'm sure some people out there would think it is well deserved.
Sebastian Vettel, who had, going into this race, only one podium in the last 4 races, had seen his championship lead come down to just the 1 point, has responded, and Ferrari have responded to the threat from Mercedes in absolute emphatic fashion this weekend. Vettel leads Raikkonen, leads Hamilton. Is Hamilton wanting to slow down a bit to swap places with his teammate? There's no swapping on going at Ferrari at the moment. It's going to be their first 1-2 at the Hungaroring since 2004, and in his 50th race for the Scuderia, Sebastian Vettel rounds the final corner and wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. Kimi Kimi Räikkönen picks up yet another runners-up spot in Budapest, and we wait to see now as Valtteri Bottas is allowed past his teammate to take his place on the podium. Mercedes promised that they would do it, and in the end, right at the last gasp, they stage managed it very, very well indeed. Lewis Hamilton finishes 4th. The championship lead then is 14 points going in to the summer break. Max Verstappen finishes 5th for Red Bull. Well done to Fernando Alonso and to McLaren. A top 6 finish, and Alonso sets the fastest lap of the race right at the last knockings. Sainz, Perez, Ocon and Van Dorn complete the top 10. It's a double points finish for McLaren. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari.
P1 Sebastian, 1 and 2, well done, well managed, nice drive.
Dai, un'altra bandiera a Maranello, vai! Grazie, forza Ferrari! Grazie mille, grazie ragazzi, grande lavoro.
Do you reckon he only remembers how to speak Italian when he does well? Fastest lap of the race.
I know.
Someone please explain that to me.
And then what happened?
So fast he
slowing down to celebrate.
broke down.
I was just wondering.
Wow. I mean, P6, really impressive.
It's not even that he came in to change for new tyres. He didn't. I was just checking the information.
No. Give that guy another 50 horsepower, and they would have been right up there today.
Give that guy this car, and what a season he could have been having.
He didn't want that car, did he?
He didn't.
He walked away from that car. But well managed by Sebastian Vettel. He won this race today from his superb qualifying lap, or laps, yesterday. And a great start as well. Drove through problems. Kimi Räikkönen played the team game yet again. Must have been a really frustrating day for him. But a great team effort by Ferrari. And you have to say, Crofty, that Mercedes, I know they had a difficult day yesterday in qualifying, but they were beat fair and square by Ferrari. I think they've walked away from here with damage limitation, because Red Bull, all thanks to Max Verstappen, they had the car to do, to get a podium today.
So this is what happened then. Lewis Hamilton slowing down to let his teammate pass. We wondered how they were going to do it. And I think this was their only real chance to slow down enough, get Bottas past, and then see that checkered flag coming up before Verstappen could do anything about it at all.
And I respect Lewis for that a lot. It really proved today he is a team player. I know some people say some bad things about him, how he's single-minded and how you have to be like that to be a champion. But, he's still got a shot at this championship, of course. And that really today he was playing the team game. And I respect the team for what they did. They gave him the chance. He couldn't make it stick. He was honest and telling the truth in that he was faster than Valtteri, and showed that to everybody, but then really played the team game at the end.
In hindsight, Ferrari did the right thing as well. Should they have thought about swapping it when Kimi was saying, come on, you're putting me in a difficult position?
I'm sure they did, but, they realised pretty early on that Hamilton couldn't do anything about it.
Cheers for Sebastian Vettel, who walks like an Egyptian. We've seen that one before.
Great drive, real great drive. That is a solid professional drive. Like I say, it was one yesterday, really.
But he had those steering issues, so not easy. Was told to keep off the curve.
Of course, he had checked out of there at the start of the race, hadn't he? He was driving a brilliant race up until then. He had left Kimi behind, and we only just started to notice that the steering wheel was on the left side, and he had reported it as well. Clearly told to keep off the curbs. You need to use the curbs around this track to be quick. And it really kept his head in difficult circumstances. A brilliant drive by, I'd say, the top 4 finishers, really. And Max Verstappen, he's going to regret this one, I think, for quite some time.
He cost his teammates and himself.
Yeah. It was a track where the team knew they were going to be good.
And as we head to the summer break, what better way to do so than a lovely picture of Fernando Alonso on the deck chair, where Jock Clear comes
and he demonstrates,
celebrate. Yeah.
You gave me a car with a steering wheel to the left. But thanks anyway.
I love that painting of Alonso on the deck chair. It's just fantastic. It is 14 points then. The championship lead between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. At the end of the season, there can only be one. And the World Championship lead belongs to this man, cut down to 1 point. He's bounced back in the perfect way for him. And
thanks for not overtaking me.
yeah, straight away telling Kimi the steering wheel was broken. Driver of the day, Kimi Räikkönen, is voted for by the fans.
Ending race.
I know.
What the hell?
How fucking scary was that?
Every time I
And the traffic.
Don't use the curves. Well, what do you mean?
Go fast.
On a circuit where, exactly, on a curve on a circuit where you have to use the curves.
Don't use the curves. Well, and the traffic was horrendous.
Straight when the car dropped on the grid.
Oh, really? I don't know what.
Then
And
it got
gradually getting worse. I know, yeah, we can see it.
I think the non-curving helped, so I stayed away.
Yeah, it was getting worse when you curved. So we don't really know what it is. It looks like we're doing that. Traffic.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Kimi. Just well managed.
Manage awkward. Going left, you have to turn back.
We were saying to Ricky, so, you know, how much of a problem? Oh, yeah, we said, how much of a problem is it, Ricky? You think? And he said, well, it's all right on some on the right-handers, but on the left-handers.
Yeah, right-handers were okay.
Yeah.
Not that many.
Yeah.
Jock Clear, the head of track activities at Ferrari. Straight from the off, Sebastian Vettel had those steering issues.
Yeah, it's just saying, as soon as the car dropped down from the jacks, he felt it, and it got worse as the race went on, probably as the tyres wore down as well. And I reckon it's got something to do, you know, with the change they had to make on the rear end. It really can affect where the steering points, of course. It's all part of the balancing of the car as the crowds flood onto the circuit. But I think it was Jock that said, well managed. It really was. To keep your head under those circumstances,
Absolutely.
very difficult. And Kimi just didn't look interested in the slightest in the fact his steering wheel was pointing to the left.
Valtteri Bottas then picks up his 17th podium in Formula One, and here at the Hungaro ring puts in his best ever 70-lap shift. Kimi Räikkönen picks up his 8th podium here in Hungary, sets a new record, passing Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher. And Sebastian Vettel walks out into the sunshine for his second win in Budapest, and his second win in 3 years here too. Well, we've heard that national anthem a few times in Formula One, but for the 228th time, the Italian national anthem celebrates a Ferrari victory in the Formula One World Championship, and Sebastian Vettel holds aloft the winner's trophy for the 46th time in his career. Jacques Clear is up on the podium for the first time as a Ferrari man, and you just can see the passion etched on his face as well. The perfect afternoon, really, for Ferrari. Kimi Räikkönen, an 8th podium at the Hungaroring. Felt very uncomfortable, sandwiched in between his teammates and Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Mercedes swapped it round so Bottas could claim the podium at the end, and it's a 14-point lead for Sebastian Vettel in the championship now. It's a great response after their woes at Silverstone. Underneath the blue skies in Budapest, it is very much a day for the team in red. A colourful Grand Prix, and Fernando Alonso is there with a deck chair to say happy holidays. We head to the summer break with Ferrari smiling, Alonso relaxing, and Formula One sets for a great climax to the season. I would imagine that champagne tastes very nicely indeed for Sebastian Vettel. Never lost a World Championship he's led at any stage of the season. And he hasn't been headed since picking up that victory in Australia to start this season. Isn't it great to see all the smiles and the sunshine here? What a thrilling season Formula One is giving us in 2017. And let's hope it continues all the way to Abu Dhabi.
Good afternoon, Hungary. Race fans here in Budapest, thank you for your support this weekend. It's been a sellout crowd again here for Formula One. So we'll just get our podium winners down here at the front. Sebastian, 46th victory in Formula One, very measured. Looked like you had some issues there with the steering. We heard lots of radio transmissions saying keep off the curbs. First of all, congratulations on your win, and tell us about what you had to manage there.
Well, yes, I'm over the moon. I mean, it was a really difficult race. Maybe it didn't look like, but I had my hands full from 3-4 laps after the safety car. There was something wrong. I don't know why the steering started to go sideways. And it seemed to get worse. Then I stayed off the curb, tried to save the car. It wasn't easy. Didn't do a favor to Kimi, who obviously could go faster. I didn't have the pace. But then towards the end, it sort of did come back a bit. I had a couple of laps where I had a bit of a cushion, could breathe a bit. But I really had to stay focused the whole race. I was hoping for a couple of laps to breathe, but they didn't come. So really, really tough. But great result, great day. Thank you to the support. I was a guy out of the chicane every single lap. It was thumbs up, and keeping us going. So it was really great.
So you got one eye on the fans, one eye on the racetrack.
Yeah, and one eye on the steering because it wasn't straight. But
can you explain that? Can you explain what can possibly give you that?
Well, I don't
steering?
know. We'll have a look. But to be honest, it doesn't matter now. We won the race. So, but yeah, it's a weird feeling because basically, it was tilted to the left. So you go down the straights, and the steering isn't straight. And then in right-handers, it's sort of okay. But in left-handers, you have to, you have to get used to it. So after a couple laps, it's okay. But if it keeps changing all the time, it's difficult because you have to go further than you want and then you think in your head. So not ideal, but as I said, it doesn't matter. So big thank you to the team. Great race.
Okay, Sebastian, thank you and congratulations. Just come round to Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi, there's a huge Finnish support here. Maybe a couple of words in Finnish for your fans before we go back to English.
Well, I think they all understand English. But,
good point, fair enough.
It's obviously great support. Unfortunately, couldn't give them all the win, but we had 1-2 as a team, so I had a great car today. But obviously, when I had a mistake yesterday in qualifying, got good start, but didn't want to force the issue, and obviously after that just kept following the 71 laps. So not ideal. Obviously, I want to win, but it's great for the team.
Well, you've been very consistent on this racetrack. This is your 8th podium here. Sadly, 6 of those have been second place. Clearly, you had the speed today. It's just impossible to overtake on this circuit.
Yeah, the other guy has to do quite a big mistake or had some issue, but it's not easy to overtake, and obviously, especially with the teammates, you know, you take more care. But no, at least they are still happy, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, well, 2 Finns on the podium. Congratulations, Kimi. So, finally, Valtteri. Now, we saw a very sporting gesture from you at the request of the team to move over for your teammate. You must have thought towards the end he was not going to be able to give that place back because of all the traffic and with Verstappen hunting you down. What are your thoughts on this great sporting gesture?
Yeah, you know, for sure, in the end, I was getting a little bit worried as the gap was increasing. I really struggled with the back markers today and was a little bit unlucky also with those, but really thanks to Lewis to, you know, keep the promise and let me by in the end, because I gave him the shot to try and get past the Ferraris. But, you know, it's a shame. We had good pace in the end today, but with the starting position, couldn't finish any better. But just want to say thanks for all the support this week, and it's been really cool to drive here with all this support and Finnish flag. So thank you.
It's been a tremendous crowd all weekend. Did you doubt at any point whether the team would make the call on Lewis, given that you are in the championship battle, absolutely, but given he's the lead driver, did you have any moment of doubt or absolute trust in the team?
Well, for sure, you know, when the gap was big, I knew it could be a problem, but in the end, just want to thank the team for that.
Okay, congratulations. So, 14-point leads. That's a nice way to go into the summer break.
I don't mind. It's okay. Could be worse.
What are your plans for this break from Formula One? You're notorious for being a hard worker. Are you going to be at the factory simulator, or are you really taking time out?
In a couple of days. But yeah, after that, to be honest, no big plans. I just want to enjoy the time home. We spend so much time on the road traveling, and I know you've got a family as well. You know how it is, so it's nice to just have a couple of days home and rest and enjoy that.
Okay, well, very, very congratulations again on that great result. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from the Hungarian Grand Prix. We're going to take a summer break. You enjoy your summer holidays in Formula One. We'll see you again in 4 weeks in Belgium.
Well, the perfect day for Ferrari. Vettel having won 2 of the last 3 Grand Prix here at the Hungaroring. There are so many Ferrari fans here. Very, very popular win today for the Scuderia. Lots of Kimi flags here. He'll be disappointed. You'd think that perhaps he had the pace at one stage in that race to take him, but it's just so difficult in the turbulent air here to get past. And as it turned out, the championship leader has extended his lead. Now it is, of course, the summer break next. We've got a month off in which we'll take our holidays, and we'll be back at the end of August and at Spa. It's a classic to get us going from 8:45 in the morning of the 25th. That's also available in Ultra HD. Now, next Friday, the English football season gets underway. First EFL Live is Sunderland Derby from 7 on Friday. On Saturday, it's Villa Hull from 5:15, and Bolton Leeds on Sunday from 4 on August the 6th. As far as the entertainment is concerned, Ray Donovan seasons 1 to 4 is available now on Sky box sets, as is seasons 1 to 3 of The Leftovers and The Night of first season. Right, let's get some immediate Ferrari reaction from Sergio Marchionne.